Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Godlike Naruto, father of Cinder, rwby. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by NeonZangetsu and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Addie's little devil. Salem hated her tower. She loathed it with a singular passion only a child could possibly possess. It was lonely, cold and miserable stone, with only the most basic of furnishings. And yet it was her life. Her first memories were of these walls. Her first thoughts, of these high and vaunted ceilings. She'd never left this room. She would never leave this tower. If she had a father, she'd never met him. If there was a mother who gave birth to her, she knew them not. She had been born here and so she would die here. It seemed a silly thought for one so young, but there it was. She didn't even know why she was here. One of the maids who brought her food said she'd been cursed. Possessed of a magic so powerful that it had changed the very core of her being. She had to be locked away for her own good. Others called her a demon, one only spared by the king's mercy. Demon, devil, spawn of the blackest pit, forsaken by the gods. Salem didn't feel like a demon. She might look a little different from most girls, but it wasn't her fault. What did her appearance matter? Her pallid skin, pulsing veins, blood-red eyes and a shen hair, none of it was her fault. She hadn't wished to be born like this. She didn't want this. It was the inside that counted, surely. She'd read that in a book, once. And really, her magic wasn't that dangerous, well, not anymore. She practiced every day now, careful to contain her surges lest she be beaten again. They were rare, her power only ever slipping when she lost her temper. So long as kept herself under control, her power seldom slipped its leash. And yet still, they did not allow her to leave. That heavy iron door stood fast every day, denying her freedom. She began to wonder why, as any child might. What if it wasn't her fault? What if they were lying to her? Occasionally she would see children playing in the courtyard below. Tiny specks of color and skin, barely visible from the window of her high tower. How she longed to be among them. To laugh and play as a normal girl might. She wanted that, no, she needed that. More than anything she wanted a mother and a father. A family. She tried calling out to them, but they never answered. As if they were ignoring her. Nay. Surely not. They couldn't be that cruel. Day after day, they paid her no mind. No one heard her pleas. And so like many a child before her, she turned to wishing instead. Seeking an escape in hopeful fantasy, she wished on the stars, she wished on the sun, she wished on the full moon itself. She wished and wished and wished but nothing ever came of it. In time, she turned to prayer. Every morning, noon and night she would beseech the brother gods. But the gods were silent. Her prayers went unanswered, like her wishes and cries. And so at the tender age of 9, Salem took matters into her own hands. She could not climb down the walls, and the door was too thick for her to have any hope of breaching before the guards brought her down. And so she turned her focus elsewhere. Magic was her sole companion in this isolation, and so in her desperation, she turned to her spells instead. But she could not create life. No one could. It was a lost art for a reason. It didn't stop her from trying. Why, she wondered. Why must I be alone? Why me? What have I done wrong? This world was wrong, she decided. Nay. This world was wretched. I'm sorry. Whatever I did, I'm sorry. Forgive me. I'll be good. A world like this, it should be destroyed. Let me out. Please. Just let me out. And then quite suddenly, without any word or warning, something changed. Looking back, little Salem wasn't sure what she did to bring it about such change. She could scarcely even remember what she did at the time. One day, she lost her temper. In a fit of fury she let her magic surge and pushed. She kept pushing until her nose bled red and her world blurred. She didn't stop. The walls burned black. She didn't stop. The floor cracked underfoot. Salem didn't stop. She pushed and pushed, lashing out at the unfairness of it all. The tower shook and the air rippled, the very fabric of reality tearing itself asunder in the midst of her tantrum. Something came hurtling through. Wah! An almighty crash caught her ears as something struck the stone floor and fractured it, kicking up a cloud of dust. Salem coughed into the smoke. Oh! An angry voice groaned somewhere out of sight. What the hell happened? Sasuke. Where are you? What kind of jutsu is this? Where am I? Salem panicked and skittered backwards like a drunken crab trying to make it to the ocean. She kept crawling until her dark dress bunched at her ankles and her back slammed against a wall. She would have climbed up it if she could. She certainly tried. What else could she do when faced with a stranger in her tower? Stranger danger. Fire flickered in her hands, ready to lash out at the slightest provocation. As the haze cleared she beheld her guest for the first time. He looked rough, all things considered. Fair of face with blue eyes and startling spiky blonde hair, his tanned yet whiskered cheeks pinched in a confused scowl. His garments weren't much better. His vest lay in tatters around his shoulders, an orange back mess of a jumpsuit tattered and torn, open at the front to expose a scarred chest. He looked like he'd come fresh from a fight. His right arm was battered and bloodied, yet still somehow whole. Oh, dear. He was getting blood all over her carpet. Is this a tower? He looked around, noted the window, and the terrifying drop below. Huh. Guess it is. Brings back memories. Yet despite his injuries, or perhaps in spite of them, he looked to her next. Hey, are you alright? Though he asked the words of her, he yet stood his ground. Did you bring me here? I need help. He clearly needed it more than her. Salem looked left. Salem looked right. Salem touched a finger to her chin. Are you talking to me? He frowned at her. Of course I am. You're crying. Was she? Startled, she touched a hand to her face, alarmed to find dark tears running down her cheeks. Even her tears weren't normal. She hated them. Scowling, she scrubbed furiously at her face with the back of her knuckles until it was dry. Even then she felt the stranger's pitying gaze upon her. It should have burned. Instead, it left her with a different feeling. One she didn't recognize. The tears came on again and she dashed them away with a snarl. No. No crying. No weakness. They wouldn't stop falling. I don't understand. She hissed angrily. I'm not sad or even that frightened. Why am I crying? The stranger shrugged, uncaring of his injuries. Dunno. Maybe it's because you're happy. Not sure why you would be, though. Salem planted one hand on her hip and tried to look imposing as she'd seen her maids be. She failed spectacularly and faltered beneath his bemused stare. Happiness. What was that? She'd not heard of the like before. Was it something you could eat? She'd only ever felt sad or lonely, hopeful at best, but happy no. Not that. Never. And yet this odd ache in her chest persisted. Was it because she had a visitor? Perhaps sensing her disquiet, the stranger dared to step forward. Look, I'm gonna ask again, just in case. He raised both hands to show himself unarmed. How kind of him. Are you alright? Salem climbed back to her feet and silenced her spell, uncertain of what to say. What to speak. What to do. At a loss, her gaze flicked to his wounded arm. Before her very eyes, the mangled limb began to heal. Scarred flesh receding into healthy pink skin. Regeneration. That was a tier of magic she'd not mastered yet, nor ever hoped to. Was he a wizard then? He didn't act like one. She'd read about them. Wizards were mighty, cruel and cold. Powerful and arrogant, too. This man was nothing like them. Oh, geez. You're like a skittish cat. Calm down. His hand came down on her head, gently tousling her pale hair. She froze and looked up. Red eyes met blue. I'm not gonna hurt you. His gaze pierced hers, rooting her where she stood. But you're giving off a lot of negative emotions right now. He turned his head, blonde bangs swaying. Wanna tell me what's wrong? Her lower lip trembled. Yes. A tiny voice kicked up a clamor in Salem's heart. Everything. Help me. Save me. Take me away from this place before the guards come. Her hands balled into fists at her sides, dark nails biting into pale palms. I want to leave. Leave, leave, leave. But she couldn't find the words. Help. She'd never been offered such a thing before. The maids never spoke with her unless it was absolutely necessary. Yet this stranger, this man, had taken one look at her, seen her tears, and his first instinct was to offer his aid. Knights did that. Was he a knight? He wasn't wearing any armor. A hedge knight, then. No, even the ones in her books looked better than this. Not a wizard. Not a knight. What was he, then? Did it matter? Tears spilled from her eyes. Can you take me outside? The pall of silence fell over the two of them as the question echoed into the air. The traveler frowned down at her. Well, alright then. When his hand went away, Salem nearly reached for it before she caught herself. I'm guessing you're not in this tower by choice, are ya? She shook her head in the negative, not trust herself to speak. He looked past her, noting the wrought iron door. Where's your old man? If you mean a father. I don't have one, sir. Sir? The blonde wrinkled his nose and squinted at her. It reminded her of a fox. Come on, don't call me that. I'm only 18, you know. Yet again, Salem found herself dithering. Then what do I call you? My name? He shrugged. Well, suppose it doesn't matter. I'm Naruto, for what it's worth. And you? No one had ever asked her name. She only knew it because she'd heard a guard mutter it once. Salem. Great. Now what's this about you not having parents? His brow furrowed anew and she could have sworn the last word emerged as a growl. Someone must be taking care of you, right? They gotta be. You old starved by now if no one was feeding you. She beheld the concern burning bright in those bright blue eyes and didn't know what to do. It seared away the last of her fears regardless. If he meant to harm her, he was doing a rather poor job of it. Did he truly mean to help her? It was almost too much to hope for, yet she still clung to that ember of hope in vain. A stiff breeze blew through the window and she shivered, clutching both arms to herself. Her magic flared up in response to her distress. Salem reached across herself and gripped her right wrist until it creaked. The pain centered her. "I don't have anyone," she whispered. "The tower is empty save for me and a guard. It will be until the maids bring my evening meal. I'm not allowed to go outside." "Is that so?" Oddly enough, that made him angrier. "Then you're saying you've been kept here against your will?" Her head bobbed, pale hair swaying. "Why didn't you say so? That makes this easy." With that said, he turned and hunched down, presenting his back to her. When she didn't immediately respond, he looked over his shoulder. "What are you waiting for?" He patted his spine once. "Hop on. We're getting you out of here." Salem blinked rapidly, little lashes fluttering in confusion. "Weh?" She squeaked out the sound. "We?" He shrugged. "Meh. Kurama agrees with me, of course. Come on. Let's go already." What was a Kurama? Never mind that. "Aren't you afraid of me?" She was monstrous. Hideous. Cursed. Ha! His laughter, when it came, surprised her. It was a rich, indulgent sound. The roaring guffaw of a man who laughed often. His shoulders shook with the sound and if he hadn't been doubled over already, she suspected he would have been clutching his ribs right about now. He still looked like he was fit to fall down at any moment. "Why would I be?" He grinned and thumbed his nose, still snickering to himself. "I've seen way scarier things. You're just a kid. How old are you?" Salem kicked one foot against the stone floor. 9.5. "And you've never set foot outside. Let's change that." The tiny sob fled from her lips. He was being so nice to her. No one was ever nice to her. No one. No one at all. Salem's fractured mind latched onto that. Latched hard. Her spell must have worked somehow. She'd not created life, but she'd summoned someone. That was the only explanation her addled mind could conjure up. Her wish had been granted. She'd found one who cared. A parent. Maybe that wasn't how magic worked, but still. Who else would ask if she needed help? Not a wizard. Not a knight. Not even the gods themselves. For all her trials and tribulations, the brothers had not answered her. Not once. Piss on the gods. Naruto had answered here when no one else would. He'd heard her miserable pleas across space and time and come racing to her side. At least, she liked to imagine that was the reason. Maybe he'd fallen through a portal or something. It didn't matter. He was here now, offering her a way out of this lonely life. Looking at him now, there was but one response she could think to give. Her mind seized upon it. Forward ho. She flung herself onto his back and held tight. "Papa." Naruto coughed, eyes bulging white. "I take it back. You can call me sir. I'll even settle for big brother. Just don't call me dad. I'm too young to be a parent, damn it." "No." Salem buried her pale visage into his neck. "You're papa. No take-backs." He gazed at her over his shoulder. Such a demanding little girl. Paranoia reared its ugly head in Salem's heart. He'd throw her off. Curse her for her foolishness and walk away. Leave her alone. Her very being tensed. Fear took root in her heart. No. No, no, no. She couldn't bear the thought of it. Her arms tightened around him, prepared to cling on tight. Red eyes squeezed shut, dreading what was to come. Any moment now he'd rid himself of her and she would be alone again. Her heart would fall apart, hit the floor and shatter into 1,000 pieces. "Alright. Make sure you hold on. This'll be a bumpy ride." Naruto did no such thing. Staggering to his feet, he fixed the window firmly in his sights. Much to her dismay, he stomped down once, gathering his strength. The door rattled before he could take another step. "What's all that noise? Who goes there?" Naruto grinned. "None of your damn business. Time to run." Hollering a wild whoop, he flung himself and her with him. Out the window with nary a care in the world. Salem had just enough forethought to lock her legs around his ribs and hold tight to his neck, but that didn't stop the panicked yelp that fled from her lips as they hurtled into oblivion. The wind stole her first shriek away as they hurtled toward the ground. Her hair flew up to smack her in the face. It did nothing for her terror. She cried out, wind wiping fresh terrified tears from her eyes. "What are you doing?" That same sunny smile flashed over his shoulder. Naruto didn't answer her with words, but actions. His body shone like the sun, bathing her pale body in warm afterglow. She was still screaming when his feet hit the wall. Said scream cut off when said feet found traction, then kept going, racing down it like it was a flat surface and not a vertical drop that would render them a pretty red stain in the courtyard below. Huh. Apparently she had a fear of heights. Good to know, never mind. Bad to know. Very bad to know. She clung onto his back, pale face gone paler still. "How are you doing this?" Her savior clapped his hands together harshly and a strange series of ebony spheres materialized above his head, well out of Salem's reach. Before she could even think to ask what they were or what eldritch purpose they served, those strange missiles arrowed away to strike at the tower. Rather than be rebuffed by solid steel and stone, they slammed headlong into it, causing the hideous thing to crumble behind them as they ran. An awful crack swelled through the air as the once mighty spire yawned away to the south. Naruto waved a hand, and 3 of the eerie orbs howled past them yet again. This time striking the foundations and further hastening the spire's demise. Down she goes. A pleased hum reached her over the wind. Good riddance to that place. Salem looked back, eyes wide as their footing fell away. We're going to fall. Nope. His laughter redoubled. We won't. Firm feet kicked off sinking stone and launched them high into the air. All the world fell away below them, revealing rolling green hills and a distant forest beneath a sunny sky. Higher now. She saw an army running itself through drills below them. Highest. A clear expanse of glittering blue water stretching out as far as the eye could see. The sight took her breath away. Beautiful didn't even begin to describe such a vision. Was it a lake? Or an ocean? She'd never gone swimming before. Salem marveled at it for a moment. Until the fear came back. She tensed against Naruto's shoulders, expecting gravity to sink its cruel claws into them at any moment and render them a mess against the earth. It never did. Was this what flight felt like? It ended all too soon. She didn't see Papa hit the ground, but she certainly felt it all the same. For the shock raced up his legs and hit her like a horse-drawn carriage. Oomph. Naruto grunted, knees bending and alighting in a pointed crouch. Really felt that one. Enough to look around and check on her. You okay? She groaned against his back, eyes rolling in her head. I just a moment can't breathe. It was not to be. Naruto stood again. Hang on. Gonna kick things up a notch. Her eyes bulged. Wide. Wider. Widest. Wait, W-A-A-A-A-A-A-A. His body flashed gold again and just like that they were off, racing forward at breakneck speed. The wind tore at them anew, harsher than ever before. And yet, despite that, there was no fear in Salem's heart. Not a bit. She didn't feel any. Nay, she felt something else. A strange noise escaped her. It took her a moment to realize what it was. Laughter. She was laughing. Naruto heard and chortled softly. Feels good to be out of that stuffy tower, doesn't it? It truly did. More than she could ever hope to describe. Salem smiled and settled into for the ride, content to watch the world blur around them. She didn't look back at her crumbling tower or the kingdom within. Perhaps had she done so, she might have glimpsed an angry monarch howling at her from his castle. She didn't care. King. What king? The king had locked her away for reasons she didn't understand. Because of her magic. Her appearance. Some other mitigating factor she didn't understand. No. She wasn't going back. Not ever. He could go jump in a well for all she cared. She liked this. It felt like freedom. Where are we going? She raised her voice, struggling to make herself heard over the wind as he continued to carry her. The fresh peal of Naruto's laughter greeted her ears, rising loud and clear over the horizon. Wherever we want. Wherever they wanted. Salem rather liked the sound of such a thing. Some might call her a devil. Maybe she was. Perhaps she wouldn't be. Maybe she would destroy the world. Perhaps she would save it. That was neither here nor there. For now, Salem was but a child. And this child didn't care. If a devil she must be, then she was his devil. Forever and ever and ever. She burrowed a bit closer into Naruto's jacket and closed her eyes, trusting in him to hold on to her. A single stray thought bloomed behind her closed lids as she surrendered to sleep and the sweet comfort it offered. In that moment, before she drifted off, Salem spoke. It was but a word. The tiniest of whisper of a once forlorn hope made manifest. Pale fingers fisted against his torn jacket. Mine. For crying out loud. His laughter redoubled. I'm not some toy you can claw and she's asleep. Geez. What a kid. Little did she know this young man would carry her into safety and well beyond that. Remnant was not prepared for the chaos that was to come. Dear one. The world was big. Looking back, it was a rather sad thought for one so young. Everyone knew the world was large and full of wonders. Salem didn't. She had only ever seen the outside world from afar. A distant horizon glimpsed through a tower window. Close enough to see, never to touch. Her sheltered upbringing ensured she lived vicariously through books, but even the hardiest of novels could only do too much. Pen and paper could not replace the feel of a cool morning breeze on her face, nor the pleasant ache in her legs from walking, or the sunlight on her face. In years to come, Salem would cling to moments such as these. She would remember this feeling of childlike awe. It would keep her warm during cold winter nights. But for now she was far too focused on her surroundings to think of the future. Naruto had stopped over in the first town he found. And what a town Magnus was. At least to her. In truth it wasn't that special. In the far-flung future she would see sights that would make this place look like a hamlet by comparison. Magnus was little more than a port town on the southern edge of the continent. Its buildings were well maintained. Painstakingly painted in loving shades of blue and green with roofs of hard slate. The scent of the sea was in the air, a salty tang that filled her lungs with every breath. What's that? She stabbed a finger at the docks in the distance and beyond them a glittering expanse of blue water. Is it a lake? Lake oh. Naruto followed her gaze and laughed. Nah, that's the ocean. Pretty big, huh? Salem's head bobbed in mute agreement as she watched a mighty war galleon glide up to the pier. She hadn't been sure, she'd only ever read of it. Seeing was believing after all. Words didn't do it justice. It kept going forever and ever and ever. Supposedly there were other lands across it. She wondered if she would see them someday. The water looked nice and cool, too. Can I go swimming? A sudden flight of fancy struck her and clasped her hands together. Please, please, please. Maybe tomorrow. He tousled her hair. Wanna explore some more? Salem agreed wholeheartedly and darted down a new street. It wasn't long before something else caught her attention. She found herself immediately taken with the market when she found it. If only because she'd never seen the like before. She glanced about the bazaar like the child was, gaze flitting from one stall to another, unable to contain herself. Unwilling to stay still. Her world spun. So much to see. So much to do. So many places. So little time. She scarcely knew where to start. Her head pivoted this way and that, skirt swirling about her ankles as she whirled to and fro. This is amazing. Wild red eyes drank it all and came back for more, finding new things with every breath. There's so much stuff. Careful. Low laughter rang in her ear as he waltzed after her. Don't wander off. I won't, Papa. Behind her, Naruto choked. Still not used to that. Salem heard him, but his caution seemed distant. Muted when faced with the wonders before her. Here she saw fine silks from the north. There she glimpsed gleaming gemstones mined in the south. Magical tomes hailing from the eastern continent. Wicked weapons from the west. She'd read about such wonders in her books, but to see them firsthand, all these sights and sounds threatened to overwhelm her. She let them. This was good civilization. She was happy. She was free. She was content. Then the faint scent of baked goods and fresh vegetables reached her nose. The tiny cry of giddy glee fled from her lips. Food. The prospect of a proper meal did more than merely entice her, it seduced her utterly. She would have happily sold her soul for a good meal. A proper meal. Not bread, not water fetched from some stream, not Naruto's field rations, the very last of which were given to her, well he went without, but a true and proper meal. Salem licked her lips. Naruto caught up to her, caught her looking, and favored her with a smile. Hungry? Pride reared its head and she tore her gaze away with a flush. And no. Not at all. Her tummy growled. A blush crept into her pale visage. Yes. Well, let's get you something to eat, then. A rough hand tousled her hair, drawing a pleased smile to her face. We'll sort the rest later. An awful thought occurred to the cursed girl. Her face fell as she voiced it. I haven't any money. His smile warmed her soul. Don't worry about it. I'll figure something out. Always do. Yet as they approached one such vendor, a grocer, perhaps. Things began to change, and not for the better. At a glance Ed Grocer looked harmless enough when they approached him, a heavy-set balding man with brown eyes, set in a lined face framed by thinning gray hair, but once they drew within eyeshot well. The results spoke for themselves. Although the portly fellow initially perked up at the sight of Naruto, his tanned face closed down at the sight of Salem. Even his posture changed. His once languid smile slipping into a wary scowl. Brown eyes narrowed. He pushed himself upright and straightened his back. He wiped one hand against a green apron. The other hand strayed beneath a wooden counter and withdrew a heavy-looking cudgel from within. Salem saw it and her feet faltered. Were it not for Naruto's guiding hand between her shoulders, she might have turned back altogether. Hello, there. Her protector hallooed, raising an arm to catch his eye. Got anything good to eat? We're starving. Rather than greet them kind as she expected, they were rewarded with anger and suspicion instead. Dull brown eyes swept to Salem. We don't serve demons here. Naruto bristled. Excuse me? Demon? What's that supposed to mean? Exactly what it sounds like. I'm talking about her. As Salem looked on aghast, the baker stabbed a calloused finger in her direction. That creature you've got with you. She's one of them. He spat behind the counter and made some strange sign to ward off evil. She's a forsaken. Cursed by the gods. Bad luck all around. His brow furrowed, regarding her anew. Thought we ran the last one out of town years ago. Salem blinked. There were others like her. But Naruto was speaking, and she lost that thread of thought. That's not right. She's just a child. You can't call her a demon. Look, I'll sell my goods to you if you're that keen on them, lad, the grocer capitulated, but not to her. His gaze hardened on Salem, and she quilled behind Naruto's legs. If I give her so much as a loaf of bread, I'll have an Inquisitor breaking down my door by morning. Another quick gesture. You'd best get that thing gone from here if you know what's good for you. Say, another thought occurred to him as he squinted at the two of them. You don't look so decent yourself. Got any coin on ye? Naruto, honest to a fault, winced at those words. No, but. Then you can sod off too, demon lover. Naruto twitched. Salem had been silent during their exchange, stricken by silence and confusion. Initially, the bombardment of information overwhelmed her. Now, fear gave way to anger. She could tolerate disparaging comments so long as they were directed at herself. Maybe that was the way the world worked. Who could say? She liked it not, but she could ignore it. But for toward her papa. Her everything. Her all. No. Not happening. Not a chance. Something stirred in her and she absolutely hissed. Why you no good, jumped up peasant. How dare you speak to him that way? He hawked a wad of phlegm at her feet. I'll speak to him as I please, demon. Now be off with you before I call the guards. Let them come. Her magic boiled at the thought. If they're anything like you, they should be taught a lesson. This man was rude and cruel. He'd insulted them and spat at their feet for no reason. Their crime? Existing. He deserved to be punished. Sparks skittered at her fingertips, aching to be unleashed. Initially she panicked, trying to tamp the power down before it wriggled out of her grasp. No good. The surge pounded at her temples. A great drum hammering with the beating of her heart. She was powerless to stop it, so why fight at all? Salem's gaze locked onto the grocer. Her magic whispered to her. She should strike this fool down, smite him for his insolence, wipe him from the face of the earth. Men like him should die. Why not start now? A dark miasma built around her upper back and shoulders, turning the air cold and icy. Her eyes began to glow. He didn't look so arrogant now. Nay, he was quaking in his boots. One good nudge and he'd fall right over. Salem, no. Naruto's hand came down on her collarbone, cutting the legs out from under her rant. Bad girl. No smiting. What? Incredulous, she rounded on him with a whine. But deity. He earned my eye off. It's fine. His palm tightened almost imperceptibly on her shoulder. Let it go. She wriggled free and glared up at him. No. It won't. He insulted you. Salem. His smile stilled her. Let it go. Her eyes hard with anger, she glared at him and understood. His grin was still there, just as it had always been, but for once it didn't quite reach his eyes. Nor did he look at her. His gaze had gone cold and hard, fixed firmly on the scowling merchant before them. The man squirmed under his gaze and looked to his weapon. Naruto placed a hand on the counter first. The wood began to creak ominously under his grip. The grocer jerked back, alarmed by the sight. His point made, Naruto let go. We don't want any trouble. He hummed, taking his hand away. We'll take our business elsewhere. See that you do. Salem scowled over her shoulder as Naruto guided her to safety. That's not right. He complained freely once they were out of earshot. They shouldn't treat you like that. What's a Forsaken, anyway? I don't know. Her anger slipped through her fingers as she gazed up at him. I've always looked like this. A small, helpless shrug escaped her. I didn't think it meant anything. It shouldn't. A scarlet spark snarled through his eyes, startling her somewhat. There's nothing wrong with you. Naruto wasn't smiling. Not anymore. If the world would do this to a little girl, then the world needs to be changed. Or destroyed. A low, rumbling voice whispered in the back of Salem's mind. Her lashes fluttered in a quick blink. Did you say something, Papa? It was the right thing to say. Because Naruto's anger guttered out like a windswept candle. An impish gleam replaced it. He glanced back to the grocer's stand, eyes narrow. He didn't look much pleased, but his ire would appear to be buried for now. His smile returned and brought reinforcements. As she looked on, it grew wider still. The whiskered warrior began to rub his hands together. Was he laughing? Oh, dear. He was. Why did that concern her? Follow me. Quick as a flash, he guided her down an alley and out of sight. Safely concealed by the rising walls, no one save Salem saw him weave a quick seal with his fingers. Even she barely saw it. But she certainly noticed the aftermath. A copy of him sprang to life from a plume of smoke and she jumped back with a yelp. Another Papa. Just a shadow clone. The blonde waved her concerns away with a laugh. He'll keep an eye on you while I'm away. Now seriously, wait here. He tapped her once between the eyes, drawing a scowl from her. I'll be right back. As P said, Naruto stalked around the corner and out of sight. Salem watched him go, utterly at a loss. What did he intend to do? He turned in the direction of that curmudgeonly grocer. She wanted to ask, but felt it wasn't her place. Still, she was a good girl and did as she'd been told. She waited 5 minutes. 10. 20. Paranoia plucked at her heart. Surely he hadn't left her, no. Surely he wouldn't do that. She leaned against a wall and willed herself to wait, heart racing as the minutes dragged on. Without warning, he returned. Salem immediately noticed some changes. For there was now a bulging pack strapped to Naruto's back and another smaller but no less full satchel swinging merrily from his offhand. He held an apple in his right and she heard the faint clink of coin when he walked. All of this she took in at a glance. Relief bubbled up inside her heart. He hadn't run away after all. Her fears and paranoia had been for naught. She slammed her head into his waist and wrapped both arms around his right leg. A traitorous sniffle escaped her. "I thought you'd left me." "Nah." His smile was true this time. "Just getting some good old-fashioned payback. I pranked the hell out of him." An odd word. Salem tilted her head. "What's a prank?" In lieu of an answer, her guardian guided her out of the alley and back the way they'd come. Salem followed, not quite understanding, but trusting in him all the same. A cold breeze drew a shiver from her and she heard Naruto mutter something about getting a cloak for her. She dared to look up and saw his smile. What was a prank? The term niggled at her. She longed for an answer. Naruto led her a little further up the street and stopped quite abruptly. He held up 3 fingers, then began to count down. "Wait for it. 2. A blink. Wait for what? 1. Behind them, an almighty explosion of flour and smoke burst into the air. A sharp cry chased it, high with mournful dismay. "My cabbages." Naruto cackled, swept her up into his arms and broke into a dead sprint. Soon enough, Salem's voice joined his. If pranks were anything like this, she rather liked them. Naruto, when pressed to it, had absolutely no qualms about filching food from fools. Least of all from grubby merchants who weren't kind to little girls. Who knew? With Salem carefully out of sight, the whiskered warrior was able to cajole a number of supplies for them. Or maybe he stole them. She wasn't sure. And the knowledge left her a little guilty. Just a little. But the results spoke for themselves. Now, clad in a shiny new cloak of deep ocean blue and with a coin pouch all her own secured to her dress by a sturdy money belt, Salem found herself pleased beyond measure. She liked her new warm boots and gloves, just as she liked listening to her coins jingle while she walked. She'd never had money of her own before. It was an enlightening experience. What to do with it? How to spend it? Such questions entertained her until they finally found an inn. Salem kept her hood cinched tight and her head down, just in case. Anyone who saw her glimpsed only the barest outline of her chin as Naruto paid the fare for a night. Those that did see her merely assumed her pale of face with bright eyes. None noticed the veins in her cheeks, nor her ashen hair. A few kind remarks were given, and Naruto sputtered as the title of fatherhood was thrust upon him once more. Somehow they made it to their quarters unchallenged. Their room itself proved to be Spartan, with only 2 beds and the barest of furnishings. She barely glanced at them. Wooden walls. Wooden floor. Wooden ceiling. Nothing really to speak of. Still, the beds were soft as were the blankets heavy, promising protection from the bitter chill of the night and all its terrors. It was here that Salem's world turned upside down. Again. Stay here for the night and move on tomorrow morning. Naruto's words tugged her back to reality and she blinked, realizing he'd been speaking. She dozed off for a moment. Her bed was just that soft. She had a bed. Lucky her. Salem? She blinked, fighting sleep again. Why yes, I believe that sounds grand. A thought occurred to her as she lay there. Salem wrinkled her nose. Stealing is bad. We shouldn't do that again. It is, but we didn't have any money at the time and he was a jerk. A small smirk graced his whiskered cheeks. It's not something I plan to do regularly, you know. Oh. Said scowl shattered abruptly, replaced by a smile as he recalled something important. Which reminds me. He turned and pulled the bag from his shoulders. Salem squinted at him as he began to rummage around in it. I'd like to apologize in advance. Naruto coughed into a fist. He pulled a wrapped parcel from within and. Happy birthday to you. Salem jolted upright. What? Well, you don't remember when you were born, right? He beamed back, presenting the item to her as she sat up in bed. When she nodded tentatively, his smile burned brighter still. So I decided. Today's your birthday. Makes things easier, yeah. Go on, open it. She peeled back the box, wrapped in colorful silks and set them aside. Whatever it was felt light. No, there was definitely a weight there, but it wasn't a heavy one. Her fingers made quick work of the concealing fabrics and her breath caught short. Naruto wasn't the best singer. But he'd gotten her a scarf. It was bright and red and warm against her fingers. Enchanted for warmth, no doubt. He'd surely stolen it. There was just no way he could have paid for this, even with the meager coin they had. A gift. For her. A birthday. Just for her. Salem swore she'd wear the scarf forever. Do you like it? A calloused hand tousled her hair. "I'll wrap it around you as many times as you want." Trembling fingers lifted it from the box. She cradled it close to her cheek, savoring its warmth. "Are you really on my side?" The question tore out of her before she could stop it. "Eh?" He blinked at her. "What kind of question is that?" It was too much. "I don't understand you." She sat up straighter, doubt rearing its ugly head in her heart. "Why did you save me?" When he didn't answer, her fears only grew. "Why are you being so kind to me? Why give me all these nice things? I can't give you anything in return." She clutched the scarf white-knuckled in her hands, suddenly afraid he might take it away. "I have nothing." Her voice broke. And yet. Naruto didn't bat an eyelash in the face of her fear. "I just want you to be happy." Salem's heart shuddered to a stop. "What did you say?" "I want you to be happy." He leaned back against a wall, well aware of her eyes on him. "You deserve to have a good life and all that comes with it." A lone finger scratched his whiskered cheek and he looked away with a nervous laugh. "I may not have the best idea about what a good life is, but I'll do my darndest to make sure you have one." His gaze swiveled back to her. "And I can guess." "A little." Every word was a blow against her doubts, battering them down. "Someday you're gonna grow up, meet a nice boy and fall in love." Her protector looked away, gazing out the window at the silent town below. "You'll marry him, he'll treat you right, and together you'll have one big happy family. Then later, your kids will have a family of their own. And one day, decades from now, you'll pass away with a smile on your face, surrounded by family and friends." But that, her final protest crumbled like so much sandstone. "Are you for a reason such as that I don't understand?" She whispered, at a loss. "You still haven't told me why." "Lem ask you this, then. Why not?" The grinning Jinchuriki thumped a fist against his chest. "I don't need a reason to save someone." His words broke something in Salem, something she thought had healed long ago. A traitorous tremor rocked her shoulders. The little girl quivered. Her lower lip trembled as her eyes began to water. She wasn't crying. She was too proud to cry. She would never cry. A tiny keening sound pushed itself between her teeth as she clutched the scarf tight. Oh gods. She was crying. She dabbed at her face furiously, trying to scrub away the droplets with the back of her hands, to no avail. And then. Quite suddenly. Naruto was there. A strong limb fell over Salem's shoulders and pulled her head into his chest. He didn't call her out for crying, didn't mock her, nor did he rebuke her. He simply held her. She burrowed deeper, muffling a sob against his shirt. For all his earlier protests and squawking whenever she called him papa or daddy or any such title, he didn't flinch now. His good arm tightened around her, pulling her closer still, until his forehead touched the back of her neck. Until she could hear his ear beating against her ear. "I'll always be on your side, Salem. Remember that, alright?" Salem hiccuped softly and let her tears fall freely. "Yes, always." "You're 3. Achoo." Salem heaved a mighty sneeze and sniffled angrily. "Adi," she whined, her voice gone a sullen croak from coughing all day, "I don't feel so good." "Sounds like a cold." Naruto laughed as he padded across the room. "You've been sneezing since last night." Wooden boards creaked softly beneath his feet as pressed a cool cloth to her forehead with one hand. The other eased her back into bed. Guiding her down to the pillows propping her up, he tutted softly. "That's a part of life, Salem. Everyone gets one." She huffed and scowled the heavy blankets. "I hate colds." Even when she was sick she still managed to sound imperious. Must be a skill of some kind. Nevertheless, her words stole a rusty chuckle from him. Such a fussy little girl she was. Too pure. Too precious. Must protect. Even 3 years out of the tower, some habits were harder to break than others. Salem crossed her arms and sulked in bed. "I feel icky. I don't like this, not one bit." "I can take it away if you like," he offered her his marked palm, "but you need to build up your immune system." She watched him like a hawk, child though she was. "If I keep curing you every time you catch the sniffles, sooner or later you're going to catch something really nasty." Salem considered his hand for a long moment. At length, she shook her head. "You're right, of course." She crossed her red-veined arms before her chest and snuggled deeper into her covers like a bug in a rug. "It would be foolish of me to rely overmuch on a miracle rwby. Her words dissolved into gibberish as he leaned forward and touched his head to hers. "My heart isn't ready." Her arm chortled softly in the back of his head. Such a silly little girl. "Yeah, you're running a fever." Naruto pulled back, frowning at her oddly red face. Curious. Why was she flushing? "Should be nothing, but let me know if it gets worse." "Alright." Salem clutched at her chest, struggling to control her racing heart. "I'll get right on that. Does this mean no training today again?" Naruto felt his heart hardened at the idea of taking her out in this weather. "Absolutely not. You're in no shape for it." She squirmed, knees twisting beneath the blankets. "But my surges, I haven't used a spell for 3 days." Your magic will be fine. And so will you. He tousled her pale hair. Don't worry so much. I'm sorry. She whispered sleepily. It's my fault we're stuck here. Don't be. It's not your fault, Salem. He patted her head again and stole a quick glance outside, squinting through the frost-glazed glass pane to the towering snowdrifts without. Last night's blizzard had not been kind to the cozy little cabin he'd built. He'd have to make repairs soon. Still, not even a madman would be out and about in this weather. You'd need more than fire magic and thick coats to make it through that much snow. Even he didn't fancy his chances out there in those freezing temperatures. We can go outside tomorrow if you're feeling better, he said, touching a hand to the glass. Wanna build a snowman? SNRK. The faint sound of snoring reached his ears. When Naruto looked down he found Salem sound asleep, bodily tucked against his side. A small shadow of a smile plucked at whiskered cheeks. Such a stubborn girl. For all her sulking he knew she was exhausted. Perhaps it was her time in the tower, but her health really wasn't the best. Even something as simple as a common cold threatened to flatten her at times. She gradually gained some semblance of resistance to those eventually. At least, he hoped she would. When he tried to move, the little girl latched onto him and made a mewling noise in her sleep. Nuo. Naruto laughed. Greedy girl. It would be a simple thing to swap himself with a shadow clone, but he knew she'd not take kindly to that. Somehow, she always knew which one was real. Blue eyes pivoted to his desk across the room and the book he'd left atop it. Well. If he couldn't get up without waking her, he had other ways. A golden chakra arm shot out from his body to snare the tattered tome, reeling it in like a fish on a hook. Black leather binding creaked in his hands as he opened it to a marked page. Alright, he hummed to himself, now where was I? Winter had finally come and with it heavy snows, leaving them trapped in the lodge for the last 3 days. He supposed that bit was his fault. Salem wanted to go north to see what snow looked like. He'd seen no reason not to indulge her at the time. Even going so far as to build this little dwelling. That had been 2 years ago, now. He'd done no small amount of research since then. Squinting at the weather-worn words, he began to read once more, trying to make sense of the obscure references within. The written language of this world was one he'd had to learn from scratch, but he considered it well worth it if it allowed him to learn things that might have otherwise gone forgotten. What was a Forsaken? Salem had been called such in the first town they visited. Clearly it wasn't a term of endearment. What few tomes including this one. He'd managed to find used the title obliquely, making vague references to something called Children of Darkness, of gods and curses and rituals he didn't understand. Stranger still, the name Salem was mentioned more than once. Some books considered it an accursed name. Others, blessed. This one seemed to lean toward the latter, if one line was any indication. Blessed is Salem. Blessed is the Undying. Blessed is she who commands the grim. Protector of the realm and most holy. Beloved of our God. Long may she reign. His finger tapped the words, considering them. Kurama. His voice echoed into the silence. Thoughts. I think we may have stumbled upon something we shouldn't have. Well. That was ominous. But that didn't make any sense. The girl cuddled against him wasn't even a teenager. She certainly wasn't invincible. She'd cried for an hour when she cut her finger peeling potatoes with him. He remembered the moment well. Such a tiny cut and yet she had been so upset. Poor girl nearly hacked her finger off and he had to heal it. She aged, she bled, she lived just as any other human might. Was hers a name passed down through time? Some cruel cosmic joke? Knowledge lost to time? Something more sinister? Salem whimpered in her sleep. Naruto pulled her closer as he continued to read. She had been born as she was. She didn't know much and neither did he. But she'd been rather adamant about that. He glanced down at his charge, still dreaming sweetly. What did that mean? Was this little slip of a girl the last of her kind? The first? Something in between? The books in that no-good arse of a shopkeeper certainly implied that there had been others who looked like this before her, but the common folk acted as if they were all but extinct. Were they? Or merely driven into the shadows? More questions than answers there. Moreover, all this talk of gods worried him. Naruto flicked to the next page and frowned at the horned beings within. He'd seen them before in countless tomes. This was no different. Of them there had ever been a veritable wealth of information, not all of it good. Not one god, but two. Light and dark. Brothers caught in eternal conflict. And they lived among the people despite said conflict. Didn't sit right with him. After all, he hadn't the best experience with divinity in the past. Kagaya certainly didn't make a good impression. Closing the tome, he shook his head. I'm getting paranoid. They haven't even done anything to us. Yet. Kurama sniped. I wouldn't hold my breath, were I you. Perhaps they were different. He wanted to believe they were. At the end of the day, Naruto wasn't a cynical person. He believed most people were good. So was Salem. Surely given time, humanity would come to understand her. She wasn't a threat. She was just a little girl trying to make her way in this brave new world. Maybe the legends were just that. Legends. Dusty old memoirs that held no bearing on the present. Trust. That was his first mistake. Unfortunately, it would not be his last. Below them, the door rattled as someone beat their fist against it 3 times. In this weather? Who could that be? With one last lingering glance at Salem, the blonde tucked her in tightly and swapped himself with a shadow clone. He slipped past her, tugged on his winter cloak, and padded down the stairs. The door shuddered anew. "Come on out." A man's voice brayed, giving him pause, muffled by the wood though it was. "No use hiding anymore. We know who you are. More importantly, we know what you are." Naruto quirked a brow. "Open up." The voice came on again. No need for this to get bloody. Never a dull moment, it seemed. Best to just confront them whoever they were and have this done with. Naruto complied with a roll of the eyes. Threats hardly fazed him these days. If they thought him some helpless farmer, they were in for a rude awakening. With a put-upon sigh, he grasped the worn metal handle, grappled with it for a moment against the wind, then swung it open. A bitter chill stung at his eyes, forcing him to squint in the fading light. Almost immediately he found himself face to face with men in brilliant wood and gold cloaks. 5 in all, they stood before the door in a loose semicircle, cutting of any and all avenues of escape. Their leader lowered his cowl to reveal himself, exposing his visage to the elements. His face bore a fierce ruggedness to it, framed by a mess-brown beard and ragged hair. Keen eyes set within a gaunt face him intently, reminding him of a starving bear sizing up its prey. A scarred lip curled at the sight of him, naked in its derision. Most certainly the leader then. The other 4 didn't speak, though their eyes were hard upon him. Staves in hand, they looked ready to spring into action at a moment's notice. I thought you'd be bigger." There was a rough drawl to their leader's voice, an odd lingering accent Naruto couldn't quite recognize. "But you're definitely the one." His smirk became a scowl. "Long way from home, aren't you?" "Do I know you?" The Jinchuriki felt the beginnings of a scowl begin to tug at his mouth. "What do you want?" The leader drew himself up to his full towering height. "Oh, you already know the answer to that." He really didn't. Some of his confusion must have shown through. Because the man brayed on. "Did you think our lord wouldn't notice your interference?" He made a strange sign with his hands. "He sees all. He knows all. Your deeds are known to him." Right, this was going nowhere and it was bloody cold out here. "Whatever it is you seek, I do not have it." He feigned a smile he didn't feel and moved to close the door. "You should move on." "Ha!" Laughter snapped at his back, causing his hackles to rise. "Move on," he says. "And here I thought your kind was supposed to be so enlightened." He turned his head aside in spar. "So much better than us." Well, Muscle's arms moved, casting strange rippling shadows against the snow. "So much smarter. Yet you hide out here in the woods. Like a coward." A spike of anger stabbed through Naruto's heart. He suppressed it. He refused to rise to the bait, however, and so the man continued. "We've come for the girl, friend. Give her to us and you'll not be harmed." As one, the hairs on the back of Naruto's neck rose. The girl? Salem. Must be. Couldn't be anyone else. His brow furrowed, regarding the group before them with his sixth sense. These folk reeked of negative intent and worse things besides. Did they honestly think he'd just hand her over to them? No. Never. They were out of their gourd. For a moment he considered thrashing them within an inch of their lives. If he weren't such a good person he might have done just that. "You've clearly been misinformed." He spoke clearly and eloquently, seeking to throw them off. "There's no girl here. I live alone." "Daddy?" Salem's voice called somewhere behind him. "Where did you go? Can I have a glass of wao?" The leader smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. "No girl, eh? Who's that, then?" Naruto felt a weight press against his leg and knew who he'd find there. Frowning, he nudged her away. "Get back inside, Salem." "But I can help." "Salem?" She flinched and for a moment he felt guilty. He'd never raised his voice to her before. She made a noise caught somewhere between a snarl and a sob, then scampered back up the stairs. Judging by the noise she made, she wasn't much pleased with him. Too bad. She could be angry with him all she wanted once this was over. It was for her own safety. The leader hissed. "She already has a name." "She's a child, you dolt." Naruto's scowl redoubled. "Of course she has a name. She is a child of dusk, is what she is." The bearded man scowled at him. "A daughter of darkness. She must die. The god of light demands it." He offered him a hand. "We are Inquisitors, tasked by his light to rid this foul world of sin and corruption. You will give her to us." "Yeah, no." Dark eyes bored into blue. "Step aside or there will be violence." His eyes flashed. "Then I choose violence." He expected more blustering, anger at the very least. Naruto received none of these things. Only joyous laughter. Excellent. Humming softly to himself, the man pulled his arms from the sleeves of his cloak and shed it, letting the robe fall down across his legs. Now naked from the waist up, he cut a rather striking figure in the dim light. Every inch of visible skin stood sheathed in blue tattoos, from his neck to his chest. All corded muscle he was, lean and strong. Naruto quirked a brow at the sight. Some of those markings looked painful. Self-inflicted, even. Yet it did nothing to detract from his strength. This was no priest. This was a warrior. Look, pal. He grit his teeth. You do not want this fight. Trust me. The stranger smiled, supreme in his confidence. Oh, I'm pretty sure I do. Naruto felt the negativity spike, saw the blow coming long before it connected. He could have slain the man 7 ways to Sunday. Murdered him, ripped out his entrails and left them for the crows. He didn't. Instead he let it connect. His head snapped to one side as he turned the other cheek. Blue eyes flashed gold. A low growl tore out of him. Leave. My. Home. No, I think not. The stranger met his gaze with a strange smile. You are going to have to kill me for that to happen. He lifted his chin in stoic defiance. I don't kill. Good. More fun for me. Not satisfied with such deference, the Inquisitor struck him again. Naruto grunted, chest spasming against a quick jab. Twice now. He'd give him one last chance. Clenched knuckles barreled into his stomach. He pushed down the anger, locked it in a box and buried it deep. Time unspooled as a third blow hurtled his way. This one, he caught in an open palm and wrenched aside. I warned you. Rather than fear, the man's eyes flashed in a vicious shade of glee. Finally. It's no fun when they don't fight hard. The vicious headbutt wiped the smile from the man's face and left him spitting teeth. Momentum smashed him backward into his fellows, flattening 3 of them. The 4th and 5th each leveled a gnarled staff in Naruto's directions. His arms swung up and knocked each aside, sent the retaliatory bolts shooting wide, and grasped them by their heads. A vicious twist flung them into their fellows, leaving them sprawled out in the yard like a twisted ball of arms and legs. He looked up and saw Salem watching from the window, eyes wide. A smile creased his visage. There. Now leave and never come back. My turn. Naruto dodged the leader's spell with ease. Saw it in his mind's eye and simply stepped aside. Not so the attack that followed. Another spell caught him even as he evaded the first, a wicked curse of some sort that set his blood boiling in his very veins. His back stiffened. Every muscle in his body clamped down. An invisible fist slammed into his body from 5 simultaneous angles, momentarily overwhelming his defenses to launch him through the roof of the lodge and into the air. For a fleeting moment the world burned white and he found himself weightless, tumbling end over end. Gravity sank its cruel claws into him and he came crashing back down. It wasn't enough to stop him. He wouldn't let it. He hit a tree then summarily kicked off it, flinging himself back into fray. Blue eyes blazed gold. Through blurry eyes saw the other men barge into their home below. Then he heard a scream. Enough of this. Take the girl. Something snapped. No more games. His hands snapped together, creating a pair of shadow clones. They surged into the lodge after them. You fool. The tattooed man barked at him as he crashed down beside him. Don't you know who I am? My name is Balder. I'm an Inquisitor, you dull creature. I've been blessed by the God of Light himself. You are, all of you beneath me, and why can't I feel my everything? Said Inquisitor toppled backward onto his rear, blinking at the stumps where his legs were. No more. There was no pain. Sheer shock prevented it. All that existed was a red ruin where his ankles once stood. He stretched an arm towards them, only to balk as it ceased to exist below the elbow. That same limb was snatched out of the air. It cracked across his face as someone slapped him with it, streaking blood across his vision. Again. Yet again. I hate zealots. A low snarl reached his ears. Always so proud. Always so arrogant. Always so sure of themselves. And yet. Blazing red eyes dominating his vision, denying everything else as a golden specter appeared before him. A vicious kick shattered the Inquisitor's ribs. Another collapsed his left lung. A third obliterated his right eye and an ear with it, sending him tumbling to the snowy soil like a broken toy. They break so easily. All of you. Take away your magic, and what are you? Balder raised a trembling fist, and his spell guttered out like a windswept torch. Nothing. No. Less than nothing. Filthy mages. I didn't want this, didn't want any of it. But you just had to keep pushing. The terrified squeal pierced the gloom. Monster. Demon. Devil. No many should have this kind of power. Monster, am I? He leaned forward. Perhaps you should speak more softly to me, then. Balder crawled backward, a terrified crab in search of safe sand. No. Stay back. What's wrong? Naruto smiled, exposing far too many teeth. They thought him scary. All right. Time to put on a show, one that wasn't feeling entirely feigned at the moment. You were talking all that good shit a second ago until I blew your fucking legs off. Go on. He cast them down at his feet. Grow them back. He stomped down, drawing a screech from his prey. Summon up your familiars, unleash your magic, call your god. Hit me, fight me. His victim only whimpered wordlessly. Red eyes narrowed to vicious slits. Or just die. He stomped down on the Inquisitor's throat and wrenched his ankle to one side, snapping his neck. That was all it took. Balder knew no more. By all accounts it was a merciful death. Better than bleeding out certainly. Yes. A merciful end by every accounting. Others weren't. No. Get away. Don't touch me. Behind him, Salem shrieked. Stop. Naruto whirled and nearly died for it. Their cozy little home shattered from within, showering him with splinters of razor-sharp wood. He turned and winced at the sight he found awaiting him there. Salem stood amidst the wreckage, bleeding from an ugly cut just above her brow. Black blood trickled from the wound. The rest of her was spattered with yet more. None of it was her own. Of his clones, he saw no sign. They'd likely been destroyed in the blast. Surrounded by the broken bodies of those who desired her death, the little gremlin stood tall and strong, heaving for breath. Fierce plumes of steam fogged the evening air as her chest hitched furiously. A dark miasma stemmed from her shoulders, polluting the air around her. The light of the mangled moon shone down upon her, casting her pale body an ethereal glow. Naruto winced despite himself. Salem. She whirled with a snarl and turned wild eyes on him. Wretched flames sprang into her palms, fireballs ready to flung at the slightest provocation. And for a moment, just a moment, he saw what she might become. A fell beast unlike any other. A terrible dark lady commanding millions. Scourge of this world, its people, in all her horror. With a blink the vision vanished, leaving him alone with the maddened girl. It's alright. He raised both hands to prove himself harmless. You did good, Salem. She really had. They're dead now. We can rebuild this. He sensed the attack coming. Disbelief dulled his reflexes. Fire seared through his ribs and pain blazed his world red, even as he twisted his body aside. The blonde doubled over, stunned at the gaping hole in his torso. Kurama hissed. Naruto. I'm fine. He grit his teeth and spat blood. Well, maybe not okay. Reaching around to clutch the wound, he pushed some chakra through it, numbing himself. Calm down, Kurama. It's not her fault. She's scared. She's never had to fight for her life like this before. She's probably surging. She hadn't used her magic in 3 days. And she'd been terrified. It wasn't her fault. Blue eyes swept back toward Salem. Salem? Sweetie. He hissed a little as his ribs stitched themselves back together. I need you to listen to me. No one's going to hurt you. You're safe now. Come back. When the next spell bolt came, Naruto was prepared and not blinded by shock. He knew she wasn't in her right mind and acted accordingly. A golden palm cracked out, shattering it into harmless sparks. He dared a step forward. Salem snarled at him, baring her teeth like a beast, raw in the worst way. He shrank back as her fear hit him like a physical force, wild and primal and fierce. So much fear. He nearly drowned in it. Alright. I won't move. Instead he bent a knee and opened his arms. Come here. Give me a hug. He knew what she would do and tensed, preparing himself for what was sure to come. She flew at him in a rage, spurred on by the flames in her hands. Are you sure about this? His head bobbed. Yup. Salem crashed into his chest and tore at him like a girl possessed. Rather than resist, Naruto caught the crazed girl and pulled her into his arms, pinning her arms at her sides. Her back stiffened and she spouted words in a language he didn't recognize. Whatever it was, it didn't sound human. Magic blasted over him, scorching his skin. He grimaced and held on. You're going to make me sing again, aren't you? He chuckled hoarsely. Alright. I'll sing you that old lullaby again. Do you remember it? The one that calms you down? The furious shriek was her only response as her magic tore into him. Naruto sighed. Take my hand. I'm here to protect you. Salem went absolutely berserk. Somehow she got an arm free and slammed it into his shoulder, clawing at him. Blood spattered the snow. Naruto grit his teeth and redoubled his grip on her thrashing form, enfolding her in his arms once more. It only made her flail like a hellcat. Still he didn't relent. His resolve hardened for every bruise and cut she inflicted upon him. Nothing will stop me. His ward screamed and kicked at his shins. Understand, there's no sacrifice I won't make. With all other avenues of attack denied to her, Salem reared back and bit into his neck. Her teeth sank deep, spraying rich arterial blood into the air and across the snowy dunes. Naruto barely batted an eyelash. Pain was an old friend by now. He simply raised his voice to make himself heard over her shrieks. I'll risk it all to keep you safe. Gradually her struggles began to abate. Trust me to be strong. The haze fled from her eyes. I'll be your hero. She went limp. Just hold on. Salem twitched once in her arms and exhaled, the last of her magic spent. With no more fuel to feed the flames and no panic to fan them, the last of her surge abated. The poor girl blinked once, then twice, thrice now as reality slowly crept back in. Her head cocked and she coughed once, expelling a faint plume of smoke. A small, sleepy smile crossed her pallid face. "Daddy? There you are. Welcome back." Naruto tried to force a laugh for her sake, but the words emerged as a hoarse whisper. "You really had me worried for a bit there." "What happened? Oh, no." Bleary eyes focused. Saw his wounds. Again. A whimper fled from her lips. Did I lose control?" "No." He lied through his teeth. "This wasn't you. I fell down some stairs." She sniffled despite herself. "You're an awful liar." "Yeah, don't worry about it. I'll be just fine." Her voice warbled. "Are you going to die?" "Nope. This is just a flesh wound." "Wounds, more like." She flailed at him, pressing her hands to one of the holes she'd torn in him. "You're bleeding." "Nope." Her eyes began to water. "I'm sorry." She all but wailed the words. "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." Her head collided with his bloody chest. "I'll never get angry like that again. Never, never ever." Tiny pale hands held tight, quivering horribly. "So please don't leave me." "Nope. Not a chance." The blonde coughed but a little and massaged the small of her back. "Silly girl." His chin came down over her shoulder, locking her in place. "I already told you, you stuck with me. It'll take more than this to kill me." She sniffled anew. "Promise. Swear you won't die." He kissed her forehead, uncaring of the blood there. "Yup. Didn't I just tell you? I'm your hero. Heroes can't die. That means I can't die. But you'll get old eventually." Salem warbled. "Ah. I've fought a god before. Time can't be that difficult." She blinked. "Are you quite right in the head? You won't live forever. Eventually, you will die." "I'll die of old age." "Who decided that?" He denied her denial with a laugh. "It's my body. I decide such things. Time can screw right off." "Okay, I believe you." Incredibly, she listened. "You're special. You can't die. I won't let you die." Salem's head slammed into his chest all over again. "I'll help you. I'll keep you safe. You're my hero. My knight." Heedless of the mess she made, she clung to him. "Mine." Utterly insensate and at her wit's end, she began to bawl, deep heaving gasps rocking her thin frame. "Yes, mine forever and ever and ever." Naruto didn't speak further. There was no need to. Angry at this little slip of a girl. No. He never could be. Instead, he found himself angry with this world. Any realm where a little girl would be hunted down like a dog was not a world he wanted to live in. Salem hadn't done anything but be born into said world. It was not a sin to be alive, no matter what some people might say. Nor was it a sin to be free. And yet despite that, men had come for her, determined to kill her all the same. As far as he was concerned, she'd defended herself splendidly. But more would come. If this god of light was truly sending his followers out to kill children, to slaughter little girls. Maybe it was time things changed. Year 5. One man walked into the domain of a god. Salem steeled herself and followed that man into hell. Truly, the land of darkness was a barren wasteland few could hope to imagine. An arid purple rock with naught but grim and strange rock formations to its name. Haphazard crystal protrusions jutted from the earth like jagged grasping fingers, stretching toward the sky in search of salvation. The air was powerful here, charged with equal parts might and magical-like. She'd never set foot here before and yet it felt as if she'd come home. Returned from a long journey abroad. Why? She couldn't explain the feeling away. That alone concerned her more than she cared to admit. This place should be unknown to her. Yet she couldn't shake the feeling that she had been here. Even now these very steps called to her, spoke to her soul in a she didn't truly understand. She still couldn't believe they were here. Make no mistake, Salem knew why they'd come to this place, but it was a marvel they'd made it here at all. 1 year to find this place, another spent in training, evading the silver-eyed warriors as they came. The god of light had much to answer for. She could only hope that his brother would be able to explain what was wrong with her. He had to have answers. He must. The alternative was simply unacceptable. Pale fingers traced a nearby crystal growth, running along its protrusions like an old friend. Her reflection gazed back at from within, not at all warped and twisted by the strange surface, but a stranger all the same. Truth be told, she barely recognized the being staring at her. Keen red eyes gazed back, framed by a curtain of long ashen hair and a lovely face, rimmed by a striking scarlet veins. Gone was the gangly girl of yesteryear, in her place stood a teenager well on her way to becoming a young woman. She was changing, growing older, stronger, but into what, she knew not. Perhaps it was petty to preen over herself, but preen Salem did, admiring herself in her dark dress. Naruto said she was lovely, soon she would be the most beautiful in all the land. She'd become bolder too, more sure of herself. You alright? At Naruto's inquiry, Salem craned her neck and inhaled once, letting the raw mana in the air fill her lungs and suffuse her spirit. Such power would have stifled anyone else, but to her it felt a gentle caress. Like warm fingers running across her scalp, soothing her to sleep. A strangely pleasant feeling. Perhaps this place wouldn't be so bad after all. I am fine. She swallowed once to stifle a whimper and mustered up her courage. This is nothing. All that changed when they stumbled upon the first altar. Her protector whistled softly. Well, that's ominous. The grisly sight awaited them there. For a woman's lay sprawled atop ruined stone. Jaws agape in some silent scream, her stripped skeleton offered them no words of wisdom nor encouragement. Whomever she was long since dead. It wasn't hard to find the cause. For a curved dagger jutted from her ribs. Salem winced at the sight. This woman had died here. Died hard. Around her broken bones lay a ring of mangled skeletons, each far larger than they had any right to be. Multiple attackers. Humanoid. Not grim, then. Closer inspection revealed there was a smaller body tucked into the woman's side, clutched tight just above her breast. Salem's stomach roiled at the sight. A child. The woman had been guarding a child. And she'd paid for it with her life. She gazed upon those small bones, now made brittle by age, and felt her gorge rise. Who would do such a thing? Naruto took her by the hand and led her away. Despite her weakness, the little gremlin scowled at him. I'm not a little girl anymore. You don't have to do that. It's fine. His words soothed her. I want to. But if you don't. When he pulled away, she reached out and clutched his hand. I didn't say no. His smile warmed her more than words. It dampened her fears and distracted her. That was his intent, no doubt. Damn her for her weakness. Damn him for being a sentimental fool. Salem dared a tentative smile as she walked alongside him. Still, she looked back at the skeleton and shivered. Would this be her fate someday? Sometimes she wondered if she would ever truly die. Perhaps not, but Naruto was aging, too. There was silver in his hair now. One had to squint to see it, but it was there, gleaming in the light of the shattered moon. Perhaps it was stress that had begun to change him so. Maybe it was the effect of this world upon him. Salem didn't know. Perhaps they would find answer to that question as well. Naruto tugged her onward before she had a chance to dwell on it. Together, they ascended the steps leading onto the altar, making that arduous climb as equals. Salem's heart skipped a beat. She told herself it didn't matter. That this was nothing. Nothing at all. It was a lie. At some point, her feelings had begun to change. She was falling in love. This was wrong, wasn't it? She dare not speak of it. Surely it was nothing. Wasn't it? A pool of teeming darkness awaited them at the peak, flanked by growling Grimm. As one, they knelt to her. Indeed they bowed low, bony masks scraping the blackened soil. Why did they bow? Another question, without so much as an inkling of an answer to be found. Naruto exchanged a baffled look with her, but nevertheless stepped forth. He approached that ghastly pool, spread his arms, and threw his head back. Oh I. His voice boomed long and loud into the silence, crackling with powerful chakra. God of darkness. We want a word with you. A dark hand burst from the pool. As master and apprentice looked on, it clawed its way to the surface, dragging something unholy with it. A ghastly twitching shape crawled their way on all fours, only reluctantly assuming the guise of mane. It was a man, and yet not a man. The best description she could give it was humanoid. A being of deep dark violet, long horns curled from its head as it stood tall, while its faceless visage regarded them. Whatever expression it wore could not be seen, for it possessed neither eyes, nor a mouth, or even a nose. It is close now. Far too close. Salem choked back a whimper. It was a frightful thing to stand before God. She knew they were real, of course everyone did. But to see one in person was another matter entirely. In the flesh, well, not flesh, more energy than anything else, and oh dear she was rambling, wasn't she? He really was quite large. Magic began to swell in her veins, heralding a surge. She clamped down on it with a scowl and refused to let her power escape. Mastering herself. And yet when it spoke, its voice shook the world. You know me, mortal. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. Steely blue eyes gazed up into his. Of course I know you. He planted his feet and lifted his chin. Finding and fighting gods is what I do. One hand rose, jabbing a finger toward the ethereal being before them. You're not the first I've dealt with. You probably won't be the last. Not if I have to deal with your of a brother after this. However, I didn't come here to fight you. Still, that small smile held, lingering like an old memory. It's time for us to talk. That horned head tilted, regarding her protector like an amusing ant. Visitors, then. How quaint. Very well. The being leaned forward just a touch. Many an age has passed since I last entertained guests. Speak. Naruto stepped aside. First, I'd like you meet someone. He swept an arm out and quite suddenly, Salem found herself standing along before God. This is my daughter. She's traveled a long way to meet you. That faceless gaze slid to Salem. Come, child. Tell me your name. Salem. She managed to stutter out. My name is Salem. Oddly enough, that seemed to amuse him. Salem. A low laugh rumbled through the air. I've not heard that name in quite some time. Still, you are safe here. I've always been safe. She interjected. Naruto protected me. It was the right thing to say. Because a dark brow quirked. Did he, now? It would seem I have misjudged you. What do you wish of me? Salem steeled herself. This was it, then. This was her moment. This was why they'd made the trek here, all the way to this dark continent. She couldn't falter now. Nay, she mustn't falter. She couldn't afford it. To do so would spit in the face of Naruto's efforts, and she refused to do such. But before she could ask, first she must tell. I wish for you to hear the truth. Oh? The mighty being sat before them, crossing both legs beneath its torso. Do tell. Here at last, beneath that endless gaze, Salem's resolve failed. Well, my story begins with a T-tower and… Allow me. When her courage finally faltered, Naruto stepped up beside her. He told the god of darkness how he had found her, of the surges she suffered under. Of their journey here, of those with the silver eyes, the warriors who had tried to take her and their grisly end. He embellished nothing, yet spared no grisly detail. He told the truth. They were the victims in this. Not the aggressors. Their every reaction had been just that. Reactionary. In the last year alone they had been pushed from conflict to conflict, seemingly without end. All because the world called her forsaken. A word she didn't understand. And by the end, the god of darkness remained silent. Well? Naruto spoke into that silence without fail. Do you understand why we're here, now? I suspected as much. You've merely confirmed my initial suspicions. He stood slowly, drawing himself up to his full towering height. You did well to bring the girl here. A low chuckle escaped him, deep and throaty like a mighty avalanche grinding its way down the mountainside. His followers will not dare come into my domain. Naruto frowned. You say that, but we found a dead woman and her baby near your altar. The god's brow turned thunderous. My brother overreaches himself. Salem scowled. What does that mean? There was a time when he and I walked among the mortals of this world. The god summoned a flame to his hand, sketching the image of two figures within. We spent a full cycle among your kind. Lived among them, laid with them, and the life. His fist clenched, stifling the scene. It was an experiment. Those of the silver eyes were born of his blood, but I thought nothing came of mine until now. Why was he looking at her like that? It would seem you are not the first of your name, child. The deity leaned forward to pat her head. She blinked up at him, startled as that giant palm caressed her face. Merely the first to survive this long. Thrice as quickly, he pivoted and turned to face Naruto. I am indebted to you, Naruto of Uzumaki. Her guardian laughed. No, not of Uzumaki. That's my surname. I do not understand. It's complicated. Naruto smirked. You're going to help us, right? Indeed. A low growl pierced the air. My brother has overreached himself for the last time. High above, the heavens crackled with power. I have let his descendants be, but now he seeks to snuff my bloodline out. Dark clouds rolled in, bringing with them the wrath of destruction in all its wrath. This will not stand. Salem rocked back on her heels. Wait. We still have questions. And I shall answer them all, dear girl. You may stay here. You will be safe with me. Her blood turned to ice in her veins. What? No. I refuse. You do not wish to leave your protector. She shook her head fiercely. She could not. She dare not. Without him, she was nothing. Ancestor or not, she knew not of this god. A furtive gaze flicked Naruto's way and seeing it, he stepped to her side. She took hold of his hand and held tight, regarding him with pleading eyes. He couldn't leave her. He had to understand. He must. He was her world. Her heart. Her everything. If he left her now she'd break. And then, the god of darkness spoke. Very well then. Kneel, Uzumaki Naruto. And receive my blessing. The blonde winced. Not really one for kneeling. Then you need not kneel at all. Stand then, and know that you have my boon. With ponderous grace, a dark arm rose and came down upon his shoulder. So it was that the god of darkness found his first knight. Naruto would be but the first of many. Year 7, Interlude. Naruto didn't much like being a knight. Strange as it might sound, he didn't think the title liked him either. On paper the god of darkness claimed wasn't all that different from his career as a shinobi. Knight saved people. Knight stood for what was good and honorable. They were bastions of light and goodness, endowed with powerful charisma to sway the masses to their sides. People looked up to knights. But when one looked more closely, well, knights were meant to stand and be seen. Ninja operated from the shadows. Knights were arrogant and loud, brash and bold. They took flowery glory from their many deeds and had bards sing songs of them. Ninja struck from the shadows. When they went out, their adversaries died. Nothing more. Nothing less. While the notion of helping those in need certainly appealed to him, the way this lot went about it bothered him. He didn't want people to sing songs about him. He just wanted to help them. He didn't want to extort tribute or worship from the masses he rescued. He just wanted to help people, you know. Salem had 8 less knights to her name now, each in turn who served him. 9 knights for one dark girl. Whether that was a nod to his power on the part of the god of darkness or merely a coincidence, he knew not. But he knew he didn't like them. They were crass and rude and seemed to think little of him. He'd have to beat some sense into them. Soon. No, he didn't like this. 2 years spent in this castle crafted for the two of them. 2 years hiding away from the world. 2 years at war. He'd not seen the field of battle himself, but there could be no denying what they'd done. In seeking out the god of darkness that day, they changed the world. They'd fucked fate over and damned destiny. Whatever WS meant to be might never be now. On a certain level he knew they were an icon for the younger brother. A lone beacon by which to rally what few followers he had to his name. That meant keeping young Salem safe from those who would wish her harm. He knew that. Understood it as much as he disliked it. But they weren't happy here. "I don't like it," he said as much one night as he drank alone. Salem was fast asleep in her bed and really it was difficult to ignore how often she looked at him now which, as ever, left him at his lonely vigil in her chambers. "What's not to like?" Kurama uttered a jaw-popping yawn. "Salem's safe here, we've got a roof over our head, 3 meals a day, and we get to discuss strategy with a god at least once a week." When no response was given, he heard his partner stretch somewhere in his mind. "You're a good influence on them both, I think. More than that, we're making a difference. For the most part." But this world wasn't changing. People still died. Followers of light and dark slew each other wherever they met. They'd turned a shadow war into an open one, and everyone was suffering for it. Salem might well be safe here, and the god of darkness really was surprisingly more chill than he thought him to be. Poor sap just needed a friend, but the way they were going about this was all wrong. If the brothers had problems they should talk it out like adults. Instead they waged war by proxy through champions and avatars alike, all the while refusing to meet like stubborn children. Salem shouldn't be holding court, not when she disliked it so. He shouldn't be stuck in this blighted castle, not when he could be out in the world making a difference. Not when the god of light had supposedly selected a champion of his own. He was growing restless. Stir crazy. For too long he'd been tied down in one place, and that was fine as long as he had Salem, but now they were, the both of them, trapped in the role they'd forged for themselves. Things needed to change. No, he didn't like it one bit. Naruto frowned as he tipped the bottle to his lips and drank. "If things won't change, if the gods won't fix this mess, then I will." He whipped the glass away, smashing it against a wall. "Maybe I'll become god." The beat of silence passed between the two partners. Finally, one of them found his voice. "You sure that's not the ale talking?" "Yes." "No." The blonde sighed and pinched the brow of his nose. "Things need to change." "Are you sure about this?" Kurama frowned. "Divinity changes you." "Did it? Did it really?" He was technically a demigod thanks to the Sage of Six Paths, and he'd not lost himself to this power. By contrast, becoming a god was simply a step up. He knew who he was. He'd not lose his way if it came to that. If only because he couldn't afford to. He didn't want such power for selfish reasons. Nay, the very act of wanting it was unselfish. Someone needed to fix this messed up world. Salem didn't give a flying fig for it. So long as she had him, he was happy. The god of light was too busy with his power plays. And the god of darkness that one meant well, but he clearly wasn't strong enough. No, he decided, downing another flagon had to be him. Someone else might get it wrong. "I've got you and Salem to ground me." "How would you even go about doing such a thing?" Naruto grimaced. "You might not like the idea." "Well, that's not worrying at all." And so he told him. Was this what it felt like to be a lady? Salem wasn't sure she liked it. Give her a life in the country any day. A simple existence that encompassed two people and little more. Living off the land with nothing but their own power. A simple time when she didn't have to worry about entertaining people or listening to supplicants begging for a blessing from the god of darkness. A better time. How she longed for those halcyon days. But that life was over. In the span of only 2 years, she'd gone from a tired teen standing before a dark god to whatever this was. Sat atop a dark throne carved from onyx, a silver diadem draped around her head, she looked every bit a queen at least on the outside. Her body bedecked in fine dark silks, the better to contrast her pale skin, and the finest jewelry from every corner of the globe. She hated it. Give her riding leathers any day. Give her action. Give her violence. Not sitting her like some dressed up like some ponce as men and women came from far and wide to ask for her blessing. Not always the most reputable sort either, but beggars couldn't be choosers. This was a far cry from the meager life she lived with Naruto. Surely it wasn't all bad. Now she and her protector would never go hungry again. Thank you, my lady. A grateful cry snapped Salem back to reality. May you live a long and fruitful life. Right. Supplicant. Best pay attention. Dark eyes looked down, regarding the poor wretch prostrating herself before the throne. A young mother clad in little more than rags bowed back at her, clutching a babe to her breast. A one sickly child that she'd healed. Wild magic was powerful. It could heal as easily as it could hurt. And what she could not heal well. She had Naruto for that. Without warning, her mind betrayed her and for a fleeting moment she recalled the old corpse she'd seen back at the altar. Salem shivered a little at the memory. They'd been too late to help that poor wretch. But she'd saved this one. Surely that had to count for something. You will be given food, clothing, and shelter here until such a time as you have recovered or developed a skill. She said to the new mother. None shall harm you. The peasant woman babbled her thanks, curtsied once, then made to leave. Salem frowned after her. Hold. I would ask you a question. Her supplicant paused. Poor thing. So afraid. Everyone was always afraid of her. Some still called her forsaken. Others spat at Naruto when they saw him by her side. The insults he received proved themselves far more visceral by far. Kingslayer, Oathbreaker, man without honor. How silly. Naruto had more honor than anyone else. And what oaths had he broken? Was he a betrayer for killing humans? For slaughtering those who would do her harm? She thought not. She didn't understand the first bit either. What king? Naruto had killed no king that she knew of. Really, humans were such silly creatures. It didn't stop them coming to ask boons of the grimmlands. Time and time again the god of darkness gave his kindness freely, generous with his boons. And why wouldn't he be? He was delighted to have followers. When he wasn't about, they acted in his name. Maybe it was time she started asking something of her own. Your child. She spoke at length. What is her name? The mother seemed a bit taken aback at that and flushed behind her dark hair. I've not named her my lady. Her voice had a rather pleasant accent. Begging your pardon, but I was afraid she wouldn't survive the journey. Despite her best efforts, Salem found herself wincing. A child without a name was a woeful thing indeed. She'd nearly been one herself. What was a life without a name? Even a poor one might doom someone to a life of misery and bullying. She'd never suffered the latter, but she'd seen enough of it from afar. On a whim, she decided to be altruistic. And what is your name? Another clumsy curtsy. Autumn, Mladdie. My lady. Salem corrected her. If you're going to live in my castle, you will speak proper. A faint smile touched her lips. Properly. Why yes. Autumn hiccuped a little. Of course my lady. And does the child have a father? None that I wish to speak of. Oh, dear. He was a wastrel. Beneath her burning gaze, the young woman Moragirl really was quick to recant her previous statement and even clarify it. Ran off as soon as I had a bun in the oven, he did. Her little shoulders hunched in a bit as she tried to make herself small. Parents threw me out after. Said I was a disgrace. Naruto made an understanding noise behind her. The faint thorn of guilt tugged at Salem's heart anew as she regarded the baby in the woman's arms. Autumn was but a single parent then with no means to her name. Small wonder she'd risked herself to come this far. She had no other options. Since you failed to name her, I shall. She rose from her throne and descended the dais at a sedate pace. May I see her? Behind her, the guards bristled, no doubt flabbergasted by her kindness. Piss on them. This was her castle and she would do as she pleased. Naruto would bash them about their heads if they got uppity. Credit where it was due, the woman didn't falter. There was undoubtedly fear in her eyes to be sure, yet she stood tall. Even when Salem reached a pale hand out she didn't falter. Pallid fingers peeled back the cloth to get a better look at the infant. Bright little eyes stared back at her, set in a pudgy little face with wisps of dark hair. There was something about those eyes. They almost looked silver. No, surely it was nothing. Rose. The name came to her almost immediately. Her name will be Rose. May she live a long life. Autumn lit up. Rose. She cooed down at the child in her arms. My little Rose. The infant burbled happily. Salem felt her heart twitch again, for an altogether reason. So small. So adorable. So cute. She wanted one. No. Bad brain. Resist. Go in peace then Rose. She turned and ascended the steps once more, lowering herself languidly back into the throne. Like any monarch she held a position until Autumn was away with her child. Only once those mighty doors closed did she dare to relax. Her shoulders slumped and a small sigh escaped her. There. She'd done her good deed for the day. Naruto would be proud. No more for today. She muttered at a guard. I'm tired. Exhausted, more like. Her magic was growing restless after being used for so long. She felt a surge coming again and she was never in the best of moods after one of those. Life in the grimmlands was certainly something. She felt stronger here, more powerful here, yet even she had her limits. Still she had a guardian, a fine knight who would never let her come to harm. A small part of her preened. Mine. She grinned a little in a rare moment of girlishness, legs swing over the edge of her chair as she took a rare moment to back. She had a castle now. Her very own domain. Naruto was her knight. Hers and hers alone, forever and ever. Perhaps that was a child's way of thinking, but at the end of the day she was still very much a child at heart, due in no small part to her stilted upbringing. She knew of no other way to think. Things were fine as they were. She didn't want them to change, not now, nor ever. If she just kept quiet and pushed this feeling down, then surely it would go away, wouldn't it? He'd raised her from childhood, yet she was hardly a child anymore. She was nearly a woman now. She was beginning to notice things. Things she hadn't. Rather pleasant things. You're bored? Salem jumped a little as Naruto materialized beside her. Speak of the devil. Aren't you? She managed. A little. He shrugged. I've only dealt with 5 assassins this year. God of Light's not very subtle. Perhaps not. I've been thinking about that. Her fingers drummed against black stone of her throne, maybe it's just that. His followers. Not him. If he wanted to confront us directly, surely he'd do so. A brow quirked, allowing her to continue. His brother had no qualms with answering you when you called to him. If the God of Light truly wished me dead, I would be dead. It galled her to admit it, but there it was. The truth. We can't fight a god. We can't if I have anything to say about it. She smiled a bit, even as his grin made her falter. Salem couldn't help herself. She started laughing. It would all work out. She just knew it. Nothing could go wrong. She refused. She wouldn't allow it. This was her life. Her fate. She would not lose it. She refused. Can we be alone for a bit? She tugged at his hand, fingers curling around his. I want to get away from this. Just like old times. He favored her with an impish grin and she knew at once he was up to something. As my queen commands. Salem sputtered. Stop that. I'm no queen. Certainly not to you. Yes, my queen. Naruto's grin grew. At once, my queen. Daddy. She wailed in embarrassment. Stop that. The king in the tower gazed upon his men. You will retrieve my daughter and bring her to me. As one the trio before him saluted sharply. Your will be done, sire. In the end, it was about sending a message. She thought herself untouchable. She was not. The very next morning, someone new came to court. No, not merely some stray peasant. A knight. Nor the sort she was used to, either. Salem frowned down at him from her throne as she gazed upon this striking young man with dark skin, messy brown hair, and almond-colored eyes. Clad in a blue-green tunic with a tan undershirt, an azure cape and black trousers with brown boots. Both his tunic and cape were outlined with golden markings. Over this, he wore mighty metal armor held by strange belts and straps. The armor itself was etched with ornamental patterns that she couldn't comprehend. Were those runes of some sort, strange spells she'd never seen? Who are you? Whoever he was bold. Because he walked right up to her throne and knelt before her. I have heard tell of your beauty and wisdom, O fair maiden. He knelt before her and took her hand, then raised it to his lips. My name is Ozma. A pleasure to meet you. Salem blinked rapidly, not quite comprehending what just happened. The pleasure is mine. Panic. Her mind flailed for answers and found none. Frantic, she turned in search of Naruto and found him at her elbow as always. His smile was nowhere to be seen. Indeed, his very face looked like it was carved from granite itself. There could be no denying the tightness around his eyes. Was he jealous? It stirred something in her. Perhaps that was petty of her to think thus. He'd shown no inclination to act as anything other than her parent thus far, and she was loath to force the issue. A strange thought stirred in the back of her mind. Maybe it was time to find some happiness for herself. Perhaps this strange night would yet fill the hole left in her heart. Something had to. Something surely would. Something must, if only because she couldn't live like this. They came for her in the dead of night. Slipping in through a window like the wretched warriors they were, 3 men stole over the bedroom threshold with intent, shrouded by black cloth and darker magics. As one body and one mind they crept forth across the carpeted floor of her inner chambers. They knew their target was here. Indeed, they had been paid well to ensure her safe return. Their mission was not to kill, but to capture. Each had been selected for skill and stealth and above all, their fanaticism. They were loyal. Unfalteringly so. Nothing could sway their devotion unto their king. Keen eyes flashed in the gloom. There. They found a dark shape in a large bed, shrouded by pale curtains. Wrapped in thin silken sheets against the summer here, a woman lay sprawled out across many pillows. Her pale skin, rimmed with red veins, told her all they needed to know. Their leader flicked a hand forward and two separated, moving to flank the bed from either side. He himself stalked forward, slipping through the curtains to approach her bed. Thunder rippled just outside, muffling their footsteps as they crept closer. The king in the tower desired his daughter's return. And so it would be done. Red eyes snapped open. Nice try. A pale fist slammed into the man's chest with a bone-crushing crunch, found his heart and ripped it from his torso. His body toppled forward, bleeding all over her sheets. He didn't even realize he was dead. Salem kicked his corpse away and jolted forward, hitting the floor at a tumble. Strangely enough, she felt no fear. Only elation. Finally. Some action. She heard an agonizing splat as Naruto caught the second and tore him apart. The third met her halfway, slashing wildly with crazed eyes. For the king in the broken tower. Something still in her soul. He never made it. His blade barely came within an inch of Salem. Her magic surged and engulfed him in flames. Her would-be kidnapper pitched backward with a yowl and clawed furiously at himself, to no avail. The inferno was relentless. It clung to him like the cloth he wore, shriveling his skin, sapping the very life from his bones. He thrashed to the floor and tried to roll in a desperate attempt to quell the blaze. Once again, he failed. You don't seem to understand. She hummed as the poor man writhed beneath her spellfire. This life isn't yours to take. It's mine. Take this message to your master. Her victim twitched once and lay still. Oh, well. She shrugged. I'll do it myself then. Naruto drew up beside her, idly patting himself down. You alright? Yes, yes, she waved him away, still drunk on what she'd experienced. I'm quite fine. Lightning flashed outside and Salem saw him. Truly saw him for the first time that evening. He looked absolutely resplendent in the light of the night, blood spattering his face, his eyes wild and red as his body glowed 7 shades of gold. He was the light to her dark. He completed her. Her heart did a little flip in her chest as she realized he was wearing little more than a nightshirt and breeches beneath that cloak. All that taut skin beneath. All that lean muscle. He must have been asleep when he heard the noise. And yet he'd come running regardless. Without thought. Without hesitation. Salem's blood sang. Her body ached. Her magic surged. And something gave way within her. I love you. Those words burst from her before she could think to hold them back and damned her. She cursed herself immediately. Lightning crackled across the sky outside, spilling light into the room. 3 little words. A simple set of syllables. And yet they changed everything. Naruto blinked, somewhat baffled. Thanks, I love you too. No, she pressed closer to him. You don't understand. I love you. She watched the comprehension break in his eyes like the dawn. You can't do that. Why not? Her was lying to himself. Fighting it. She heard it in his words, felt the beat of hesitation, even as her poor heart twisted. It wasn't disgust that stayed his hand. He thought this was wrong. Perhaps it was. Perhaps she was wrong. Perhaps she was the wretched one here, trying to seduce him as she was. He'd all but raised her after all. And yet these feelings had persisted over the years and grown into something more. Something that couldn't be denied. No, rather, it would be denied no longer. Please don't be this way. She grasped at his jacket and buried her head into his chest. I'm not a little girl anymore. All her repressed emotions came bubbling, all the feelings of nearly a decade burst forward, and there was nothing she could do to hold them back. I love you. I want you. Naruto didn't answer. It was you. She cupped his cheek. It was always you. It's always been you. Rather than reply, Naruto held his tongue. Well. Say something. Not a word. This wasn't happening. I don't understand. Why won't you answer me? Salem felt her voice warble. Surely we can at least try. He looked away and found his voice at last. Salem, this isn't right. Her lips met his and he recoiled explosively. Something akin to anger flashed across his face. Please. She pounced and kissed him again before he could speak. I'm begging you. I've never asked for anything from you. Her body met his, pushing him into a wall, not once. Not a thing. Not ever. Just try. For me. Fear reared its ugly head in her heart. He wouldn't reject her. He couldn't reject her. Just the thought of it threatened to paralyze it. It would be the darkest of betrayals and she wasn't sure her heart could handle it. Were he to push her away now her very soul would fracture. Break. Shatter into 1,000 pieces. Is there someone else? Surely she would have noticed. Surely. Had she been blind? Had she missed someone? No. His words were a croak. There isn't. His words relieved her and terrified her in the same instant. Then what was the problem? If there was no one else, why refute her so? Would you rather I be with someone like Ozma? He looked away. It might be better for you in the long run. I don't want better. She flung up her arms. I want you. Her hands closed around his, reeling him back in. The man who saved me. Pale fingers guided his hand to her breasts. The man who raised me, taught me what it means to live everything. I want all of you. I am your devil. You made me. Now take responsibility, damn it. She stood on the very tips of her toes and pressed her lips to his. Lightning flashed through the night, illuminating them both. For better or worse, Naruto made his decision. Year 9. 2 years. That was their agreement. Or rather, the deal Naruto and Salem made. They would set 2 years aside. Give one another a chance to find love elsewhere. 2 years to do without one another. 2 years to try. Once those 2 years elapsed they would see what came of things. In 2 years' time, if neither found another, they would make a go of things. Now those 2 years had come and gone with the wind. And of course, Salem refused to fall in love with anyone else. Naruto couldn't admit to making much of an effort on that front either. It wasn't just that this world was foreign to him, he simply didn't feel that way for anyone. More than that, he simply didn't have time. He had a war to conduct, battles to win, and fledgling kingdom to protect. Now here they were, 2 years and a day later. The problem hadn't been solved. Naruto stifled a sigh as he regarded map before him, observing it with a weather eye. A tide of black had crept across the world. That was their army. They were winning. Day by day, month by month, year by year. The god of light had fervent followers to be sure, but they couldn't be everywhere. Not like he could. April morning sunlight spilled over his back as he regarded the war plan spread across the table. He saw it in his mind's eye and imagined it to see the future. 2 more years and they'd control the world. But with each victory came the grim, glut on death and misery and pain, raving all who dared to stand against them. Despite his namesake, the god of darkness was a fair god and he did not send his monsters against the innocent, but the fact remained that more bore arms against them every day. Mankind couldn't coexist with monsters. They didn't want to. Monsters were terrifying. 2 kingdoms now. Soon to be one. They tapped each with a separate hands. One of light, another dark, with helpless souls caught between. All these lives were lost for a squabble between 2 brothers. All this fighting, simply to protect Salem from those who would slay her. To give her the right to exist. Being born wasn't a sin. It never would be. Not on his watch. We started this war. He muttered, tracing one finger over the god of light's shrine. Maybe it's time to end it. If you do that there will be no talking it back. Stranger still, Salem had been quiet as of late. A quiet Salem was a scheming Salem. He'd seen some of her plots before. She was a good girl, a simple soul, but when left to her own devices she tended to run amok. So too did her emotions. On paper it seemed impossible. He'd all but raised the girl. Yes, they didn't share the same blood. Yes, she was all but a grown woman now and yes, he had less than pleasant feelings about someone like Ozma taking her hand and doing all sorts of inappropriate things to her. Oh no. The whiskered warrior sank into his chair with a sigh and buried his head in his hands. I'm robbing the cradle, aren't I? You're really not. Leave it to Kurama to play devil's advocate. How? He snapped upright again, sweeping the maps before him. I'm older than her. By a good bit. And do you love her? Bastard. Way to put the screws to him all over again. Of course I do. He clicked his teeth in thinly veiled agitation. What kind of question is that? Fair enough. But do you love her as a daughter or a woman? Naruto's forehead hit the desk. I don't know. Try as he might to deny it, the answer really wasn't quite so simple for him anywhere. But it was for Salem. Somewhere along the line, her feelings for him had changed. Evolved from daughterly love into the kind of love a young woman would show their spouse. But where had that come about? When? Why? And was there time for it? There was a war on, after all. Remember, we still haven't dealt with that twit who tried to kidnap Salem. He's becoming persistent. Right, the king in the broken tower. He'd nearly forgotten about that bastard. To be fair, he'd not met Salem's father even when he brought her castle down on his head. But report suggested the man was more than a mere nuisance. He would have to be there with so much to do and not enough time. Never enough time. He wouldn't be around forever. Someone knocked on the door to his room. Go away. He snapped. I'm busy. Another knock. Naruto growled. I said. The door creaked open and he looked up from his map. Salem slipped inside and eased a wooden barrier shut behind her. Naruto stiffened at the sight of her. Naruto. She flushed and bit the word off before she could finish properly. No, I suppose I should call you by your name now, shouldn't I? When he didn't respond, she blinked once. Is everything alright? You've been locked in her for a day now. Naruto coughed and averted his gaze. Salem had chosen a rather low-cut dark dress today, a red so dark as to be nearly black, further highlighting her pale skin. Yet rather than approach she stood there, a skittish cold afraid to draw near him. She looked just as nervous as he felt. Perhaps even more so. She knew what today was. She'd waited for him. Why did he have the feeling she would always wait for him? And why did that absolutely break his heart? "It's nothing," he muttered. She slipped around the table, gown trailing across the dark flagstones behind her as she glided to his side. Naruto knew he could have bolted, outrun her with ease, but that would only make matters worse. Instead he stood his ground and let her sidle up to him. He stiffened only a little when she laid her head to rest on his shoulder. "Please don't push me away," she whispered. "Tell me what's wrong. Don't you love me?" He sighed. "You know I do. But not like that." Her voice broke. "You promised to try. We promised. I'm gonna keep that promise." He reached around to pat at her head. He was honest with her. He owed her that much. "But I'm really not the best at this sort of thing." "That's okay." She snatched his hand from her head and gripped it between her palms. "For better or worse, you're the only one I want. I would wait 1,000 years for you to give me your here." Her fingers found his and held tight, seeking solace in him. "I would burn the world to cinders for you." She leaned closer and laid her forehead against his. "I am yours. Again, for better or worse." For better or worse, huh? They really hadn't done all that much beyond holding hands. He knew she wanted more, but he wasn't sure he could give it to her. She really did look lovely today, no. His mind clamped down on that thought like a steel trap. Stop being so damn skittish. Nothing has changed. Everything had changed. Has it? From what I see, very little has. She's always loved you, fool. You simply failed to realize the depth of that love until recently. Salem reached for him. "Are we alright?" How was he to know? What experience did he have with girls? Zero. Zilch. None. Right, be calm. It wasn't as if she was jumping on him. She'd calmed down. Just approach this rationally. Yes, that was the way. Take it calmly and slowly. So long as he did that, nothing could go wrong. Not a thing. "I have no idea what I'm doing here," he confessed. "Neither do I." Her hand laid atop his, firmly this time. She looked down at their intertwined fingers, pale against tan. "We'll figure it out. Together." Not rational at all. Kurama chuckled. Does she mean together or together? Naruto thumped his partner on the back of the head. "We have all the time in the world." Naruto perked up. "Do we?" "Yes," her light musical laugh pulsed through the air. "I think we do." "Look at me." Salem pulled her hand from his and spread her arms wide. "I'm not human. Nor am I the first of my kind." She twirled once, her dress flaring out to expose the slender expanse of a pale leg. "The god of darkness said I'm going to live for a very long time." Naruto wrinkled his nose. "And you believe him?" "Of course I do." She tilted her head. "He's a god. Gods don't lie." They did lie. Gods lied all the time. There it was again. Everyone trusted in light and/or darkness with all their hearts. They relied upon them. Worshipped them. When fate didn't turn out the way they wanted, rather than seize their destiny with their own two hands, they begged the brothers for their intervention. And for their service, they were drawn into this never-ending war. No one was thinking for themselves. Not even Salem was immune. He liked this even less. Did they truly need the gods? Or perhaps. "By the by," Salem said apropos of nothing, "Ozma asked for my hand in marriage." Barbed wire wrapped around Naruto's heart and squeezed. "Is that so?" "I turned him down, of course." She squeezed his hand and leaned in, pushing her breasts against his right side. "You should have seen his face. When he asked why, I told him I was already being courted by the finest man in the land." That squeezing sensation ceased now, replaced by something else entirely. "He was quite cross, you know." Salem carried on with a smile. "He even asked after you." "I know that look." The expression Naruto turned on her was nothing short of flat. "What did you do?" She at least had the good grace to look away. He may have demanded a duel. "Salem. Don't you Salem me." Her eyes flashed as a rare touch of anger boiled in her voice. "I tried to talk him out of it, but he wouldn't listen. He thinks I'm stalling. That my so-called suitor doesn't even exist." Bah. Even as he made a grab for her she launched back to her feet. "Knights and their chivalry. What do I care for them? I told him you were 10 times the man he'd ever be." "Let me guess." Naruto wanted to smack his head against the desk. And he took exception to that. Her anger faded, replaced by a sheepish expression. "Maybe. This is happening, isn't it?" He rolled his eyes. "When?" She tented her fingers. "A fortnight from now." "Fine. I'll deal with it." Just like that, her fear faded. "You would fight for my hand." "Boy." He glowered. "You're deliberately misinterpreting that and you know." "Maybe. And one last thing." She looked back at him, a lone red iris peering over her shoulder. I don't suppose you could maybe hold back. Pale fingers pinched in the tiniest of margins. Just a little. I want Ozma to lose, make no mistake, but I don't hate him. We should let him keep his pride. She really was too merciful for her own good, sometimes. It was going to come back and bite her someday. Alright. He relented. I'll try. Her eyes danced with childlike glee. In a flash she was across the room, flinging her arms around his neck and holding tight. Naruto blew out a sigh and relaxed in her grasp. For better or worse, indeed. A duel was to be held at night. As befitting the land of darkness and those who sought succor in the arms of its god, much of the preparation finished to the eve of battle. Salem supposed there was some irony to be had in that. She liked the light just as much as anyone, but in truth she dwelt in darkness more than most. But not tonight. On this night of nights, the castle heaved with great activity. It was a storm and she was its eye, its center, directing it all. All revolved around her. Great open braziers were filled with imported wooden logs and cetellite, bathing the outer courtyard in writhing tongues of dragonfire. Dancing shadows swirled as servants scurried to and fro. Simple stands and benches were constructed, the better to house those of her court, as well as those who came to see the spectacle. Ozma was a knight renowned the world over. A man whose words and deeds were so vast that they had all but bled into legend. As one of the few knights who served neither light nor dark, he was something of an oddity among even his fellow hedge knights. It was only natural that the people would come to see him as much as her knight. And the food. One mustn't forget that. She would be a poor host indeed if she didn't remember to feed her guests. Roast boar and the finest cuts of venison this side of the sea were brought from far and wide to be slaughtered in preparation for the feast. Chilled wine from the easternmost continent, what would one day be known as Mistral, came paired with great fruits from the west and fine silks from the south. In no time at all, a festival sprang up around the castle. Naruto wasn't a fan of such pageantry, but Salem soon found she reveled in such things. This made her feel important. Like something, no, someone. Would her wedding be like this? No. Bad brain. Attend to the task at hand. She snapped back to reality as a bell toned from the castle proper, the sonorous notes declaring the promised hour at hand. Limned in their light, two figures approached the courtyard. She recognized Naruto at once, if only because he eschewed traditional armor. What need had a ninja of that? Ozma looked much as he always did, resplendent in his own gilded suit of plate, scepter in hand. There was no doubt in her mind who would win tonight. Salem settled in to watch the fireworks. And so it began. So you're the one. Up close, Ozma seemed a pleasant enough sort. In that regard, the last 2 years had done precious little to change him. He was much as Naruto remembered. Those eyes were bright and his smile true, not even a hint of negativity about him. He stood resplendent in his armor, weapon in hand, ready to have his due. He was an honorable man, if nothing else. Are you the one she spoke of? Naruto felt Salem's eyes on his back, pleading. Yes, I am. He couldn't miss the tiny flare of joy from her. Ozma regarded him intently, searching for any signs of deception in turn. She called you her intended. Her a him. He coughed once, face gone rosy. Her knight. Did she, now? Naruto bit back a sigh. Such a willful girl. Well, someone's getting spanked later. Salem squeaked from the stands. Ozma choked. Excuse me. Not like that. Naruto snapped. Why do the people of this era always jump to the most ridiculous conclusions? Only when the clamor abated did he dare raise his voice again. So? He asked. How do you want to do this? First blood? First to 3 hits? Ring out? Nay. Ozma drew his scepter, or was it a cane? Across his body in a graceful flourish. The green jewel within began to pulse with holy light. We shall fight until one of us yields or loses the means to fight. The winner shall take the fair maiden's hand in marriage. Salem made angry Salem noises from her throne. Naruto winced despite himself, knowing how she viewed such things. See was no prize to be won, but he didn't think this one would listen to that. Sure enough, those keen eyes looked down his arms, followed by his hands, and noted a distinct lack of weaponry there. Do you intend to fight me unarmed? Yup. Naruto smacked his lips with an audible pop. I am a master of magic. Ozma warned. Please, at least take up a shield. I have no desire to maim you. And I'm telling you, came the answering sigh, I'll be fine. A pall of silence stretched between the two warriors, shinobi and knight alike. As you wish. Ozma ceded the field at last. Know that I will try my utmost not to kill you. Not a bloodthirsty sword, then. Good. Maybe he was a half-decent sword after all. The blonde took on a stance. Ditto. Combatants. On my mark. A referee called from the dais above. 3. Salem leaned forward in her throne. 2. Naruto cracked his knuckles, producing an awful pop. 1. Ozma readied his scepter, a shield of viridian light already stemming from his body. Begin. Both men burst forward as one. The shinobi in a pulse of gold, the knight in a flowing whirl of earthy green. They collided. Where they met the earth shuddered underfoot. Ozma led with the first strike, a sweeping arc of jade fire conjured by his scepter. Cleanly diffused against the gloom, it cut forward at him with impossible speed. Naruto planted his feet, twisted aside at the waist, and evaded the emerald flames with ease. They seared past, burning an angry black furrow in the ground, in the space he'd occupied not a moment before and struck at the wall, dissolving harmlessly against the barrier. Unbidden, Naruto recalled Salem's words. Please don't break him. He sighed. Well, he certainly wasn't about to let him win, either. Right. Hold back. Restrained. Then he swept in. Ozma balked as Naruto dove into his guard and slapped his scepter aside. His right hand drove hard against the knight's torso with an awful crunch. Metal buckled. Ozma slid back 9 paces with a startled grunt, metal boots digging deep furrows in the loamy soil. Whether that was a testament to his armor, fortitude, or simply a spell for stability, Naruto knew not. Regardless, he straightened after a moment, standing proud and tall. Hey, not bad. Naruto beamed despite himself. Alright, ready for round 2. Ozma's smile turned to glass. Then his eyes rolled up in his head and he pitched forward to the ground. An awful silence fell over the courtyard, broken only by a faint gust of wind. Naruto winced as he scratched the back of his head. Oops. Salem slapped her forehead. Beloved, why? Pride before the fall. Defeat. Terrible, ignoble defeat. How it burned. How it galled Ozma's pride. Swift and certain like no other, his humiliation had come with a single blow. A strike so sudden that he hadn't even seen it coming, much less had time to prepare his defenses. But he'd felt it. Pain unending, a swift swing so sharp that it actually caused him blacked out for a moment. A moment so brief that he didn't realize the duel ended until he woke with a groan and a mouthful of dirt. Now his eyes teared with pain, chest aching as he retched for breath. By the gods, what was that? With a wince, he cast a simple diagnostic spell on himself to assess his injuries. Almost immediately, he blanched at what he found there. 3 broken ribs, a cracked collarbone, and a rather embarrassing stain upon his trousers beneath his armor, to say nothing of his outward disgrace. He was sure he looked a right sight, sprawled in the grimmlands before so many prying eyes. Still, to be felled by a single punch, surely he wasn't that weak. He had trained with the best under the sun, proved himself on his own merit and deeds, gone without the boon of both darkness and light alike for this. Long had he thought himself noble in declining their blessings, those grand gifts that turned mere men into juggernauts unlike so many others, but in truth he'd never much cared for the gods or their war. Yes, he'd not given much thought to either of the brothers. Until today. The day, as Ozma forced himself into an upright position and heard the crowd cheer his defeat, he began to realize just how utterly outclassed he was. He glowered at the fist-shaped indent in his armor, a gaping crater amidst the otherwise pristine steel. The mere sight of it boiled his blood. Not from anger, but shame. Shame at knowing his limits and realizing the terrible truth. For all his accomplishments, for all his exploits and deeds in far-flung lands, the truth was clear to him now. He still had much to learn. A small part of him confessed to envy as he watched his foe turn away from him. As he beheld Salem descend her dais to meet him, taking them 2 steps at a time in her haste. The very moment he was in range she all but flung herself at him, striking him like a pale meteor. Her body hit his at speed as she looped her arms around his neck. He caught her with a laugh, only to sigh as she pushed herself up on the tips of her toes to kiss his cheek. All the while, Ozma the defeated looked on. That should be me. A sullen snarl echoed in the back of his head. I should have been the one to win her favor. No, he shook himself. Such thoughts were unbecoming of a knight. Best suppress them. He raised an armored arm and frowned at it. Was this truly the extent of his strength as one of the unblessed? Could he go no further than this without the favor of a god? He'd always known he would lose sooner or later. Time was an enemy none but the brothers could best. Yet to lose in the prime of his youth. Before so many. To hear their merry laughter and know it was directed at none other than himself. It burns, does it not? A regal voice whispered in his ear. To know all your time and effort was for nothing. What? Ozma startled and looked left, then right, but found no one. Who's there? Who are you? You know me, mortal. I am your god. The god of light. Speaking to him. A mere hedge knight. I am honored, but why me? Can a god not take interest in the affairs of his children? There was something about those words. You needn't concern yourself with me, my lord. This is my loss. It galled him to admit it, but there it was. My foe fought with honor and defeated me in a single blow with honor. It seems I still have much to learn. I will return to the west and intensify my training. But did he defeat you with honor? The inquiry startled him. Surely a god would not lie. A strange feeling bloomed in Ozma's gut. What are you saying? The man before you held back. He did not deem you worthy of his full might. When he bridled, the voice yet continued. In truth, this fight was rigged from the start. You never had a chance without a blessing. Ozma did not consider himself a prideful man, but this rankled all the same. No knight worth his salt would take such disgrace. If this Naruto had held back the lion's share of his strength during their duel, just thinking of it terrified Ozma and angered him. Did he think him a child, unworthy of his full strength? Yet to face him as he was now, battered and broken. With my blessing you would yet stand a chance. Truly? Ozma confessed a certain curiosity to that. It sounded like an offer. You would grant me your gift. Why? I have done no service for you. I have an interest in seeing one of my brother's champions humbled. Was that a faint undercurrent in the god's voice? No, surely not. He must have imagined it. Gods were above such things. Best him and you shall know my favor. Have a taste of my power and know what it is to be blessed. Hesitation stilled the knight. Still, I'm not certain I should accept. Why ever not? Ozma the brave, Ozma the bold. Do you not wish to be known by such titles? He felt an unseen hand settle on his shoulder and hold fast. The people will speak your name as that of a hero. With my power you could help so very many. Think of all the good you could do. Simply best the braggart before you, and my boon is yours. A thorn of hope pricked at Ozma's heart and he was tempted. Surely it wasn't wrong. I accept your terms. With those words, he felt his wounds mend in a rush of golden light. Vitality rushed forth, bringing with it a fleeting sense of weightlessness, power and strength. Despite himself, Ozma gasped. Reality rushed back and he surged to his feet. Match. Eh? His foe set the Lady Salem down and turned to face him, a look of minor annoyance writ across his whiskered visage. Oh, hey. You're up. Did you say something? Was that all he was to him? An annoyance. His very soul screamed with righteous indignation. But sir. He cleared his throat and swept a hand through his hair, perfecting it once more. I demand a rematch. Salem made a noise of confusion, considering him as one might a small animal. Is that allowed? And why would I grant that? A blonde brow quirked as her knight stepped forward. I already knocked you out fair and square. He raised a fist for emphasis, its surface shimmering with soft light. Even held back a fair bit, too. I'd say it's my win. Lies? It could not be. Surely, you jest. Naruto whipped his right hand outward and the ground cratered underfoot. A bead of sweat ran down Ozma's brow. It seemed the god of light had spoken truly after all. His patience, once a mighty flame, began to waver. That was him with restraint. The shame was too great to bear. Honor demanded satisfaction. Then I must insist you fight me with all your strength. Not a chance. Naruto denied him anew. I'd turn you to paste and I really don't want to kill you. Those eerie blue eyes narrowed upon him, framed by a frown. And if you're making deals with gods, I'd be wary of light. He sniffed once, scenting the air. That one can't be trusted. How did he know? Indeed. Salem huffed as she pressed into the blonde side. Run along, little knight. If you want to fight that badly, ask me again in 1,000 years. His piece said, the knight turned his back on him. See you around. Little knight. Ozma's right hand twitched, fingers coiling around his staff. This mustn't register on an emotional level. He knew the blonde meant no offense, but his words they were another matter. They stung him as nothing else could. To attain such power, to be gift a second chance to assuage his honor, only to have it blow up in his face they dared. The last fraying thread of his temper snapped. Face me. He swung his staff and called forth all his newfound might, slamming a bolt of holy lightning at the blonde's back. It surged forward with a fearsome crackle. Ozma regretted his outburst at once and lowered his weapon, a touch of shame, flooding his face at his loss of composure. The distance was great enough. Surely the knight would sense it coming and block it. Salem shoved Naruto out of harm's way, sending him tumbling to the ground. Time unfolded slowly. Ozma saw it all. Blessed by that of a god, his spell bolt pierced the air with impossible speed, far faster than he'd anticipated. It knew neither pause nor mercy. Salem never stood a chance. It drilled through her chest with a squelching sound and kept going, bursting out in her back in a shower of black light. The sheer impact ripped her apart. It was a clean hit. No mistake about it. Through and through, the spell decimated her defenses, leaving only a gaping hole where her chest should have been. Our blood flew through the air of the grimmlands. Oh. Salem looked down, blinked once. A thin line of dark shadow blood ran down her lips and dribbled the length of her slender chin. That hurt. A quivering hand rose to touch her gaping wound. That really hurt. Salem. Naruto's voice was a low croak, eyes widening now as he climbed to his feet. Are you? She swayed where she stood, coughed once, and looked at him. I don't feel so good. When she pitched backward, he dove to catch her. All the while, Ozma looked on in horror. What have I done? This wasn't happening. It couldn't be happening. It just wasn't possible. No, no, no. He hissed. Why did you push me out of the way? I had it. I'm sorry. She trembled in his grasp, slurring her words, blood bubbling at her lips. Panicked wanted you to be safe. I would have been fine. You are so grounded after this. Weak laughter greeted him. Sorry, Daddy. Naruto swore a blue streak as he fumbled at Salem's wounds, frantically trying to stem the blood loss. And he succeeded, at least in past. But it was too slow. Chakra or no, you couldn't simply regrow someone's heart out of thin air, no matter how much you might wish it. It was like trying to bail water out of a sinking ship with a thimble. The harder he worked, the faster she deteriorated. He pushed chakra into his marked hand, deep and deeper into her body, willing it to work, to do something, anything at all. Kurama. I'm trying. The wild edge in his voice was even worse. Shut up and let me work. It was alright. Everything would be alright. It wouldn't end like this. He refused to let it end like this. You're alright. He stammered out. I can fix this. I know I can. Wide red eyes met his as she hitched for breath. I'm cold. Why am I so cold? Hey. A tan hand grasped at hers, holding tight. Don't worry about that. Just focus on the sound of my voice. His fingers squeezed hers desperately, willing life back into her. You didn't do anything wrong. I'm not mad at you. You're alright, you're gonna be alright. She whimpered like the child she no longer was. Hurts. Fretful blue eyes flitted back to her wound. Kurama had gone silent, and that silence was telling. I'm going to die, aren't I? What? No. It took everything he had to force a laugh. I've got this. I mean, I've never regrown a heart before, but it can't be that hard, right? He tried to shape the organ in his mind, make something from nothing, to no avail. He could fix this. He had to. He must. And even if he couldn't, he could get her to the god of darkness. They were in his domain, after all. Gods could bring people back to life, right? They were gods, after all. They did that all the time. If he could just keep her alive until then, just hold her together, keep her from falling apart, from passing on. He was fast. He could get here to him in time. He just had to lift her. He bent to pick Salem up and was rewarded with a pained cry. It struck his very soul and he recoiled. His arms betrayed him, unwilling to lift her further lest he cause her more pain. Stop. She gasped. I won't survive the standing. Stop. Just stop. You've done enough. Like hell I have. Naruto nearly gave her a shake, then thought better of it. Hold on. I can get you to the big guy. He can fix this. I know he can. Her eyes locked onto his and focused one last time. She surged upright. Pale lips met his, little more than a feather's brush. Thank you. She fell back with a soft gasp. For what? For the last 9 years. A bloodied quivering hand reached up and cupped his cheek. For finding me. Her palm trailed across his cheek, leaving a dark handprint there. For loving me. For everything. Her eyes swam with dark tears. It was such a short time, but I really did love. Her words trailed away as the light left her eyes. She went limp in his arms. Naruto shivered. Salem. The cold wind blew through the arena as the world looked on. No one said a word. His mouth moved, but no words came. A strange, nameless noise fled from his lips. Kurama said something to him, some semblance of solace, no doubt. He wasn't sure and didn't care. He ignored them regardless. More chakra came and went as he tried to resuscitate her. No. Not like this. It couldn't end like this. Come on, you're kidding me, right? It can't end like this. His voice began to warble. Wake up. Wake up. He shook her gently, uncaring of the black blood on his hands, of the deep stain even now creeping into his clothes, all but sullying his flesh. You can't not like this. She didn't respond. Please, the word hitched in his throat. Don't do this to me. It wasn't fair. She hadn't done anything wrong. They'd been about to, they were going to. Please. Here at last, he realized he might have felt something else for her in time. Something more than the love of a father. She'd been willing to try, and so had he. He'd never know, now. Neither would she. He tucked his head into his chest, forehead kissing hers. A low noise built in his throat. Louder now. He didn't recognize it. Her blood continued to pool beneath him, staining him black. He grit his teeth. A spark snarled through the air as dark clouds rolled in overhead. A molar cracked in the back of his jaw. Lightning crackled through grief-stricken clouds. Someone was screaming. Who was that? They were so very noisy. Oh. A small, sheltered part of his rapidly fracturing psyche suffered a sudden epiphany. It's me. I'm the one screaming. And then he heard a voice. I am sorry. Someone spoke slowly. Haltingly. I never meant to. The red haze fell over his vision. He turned. Pivoted. Saw. Ozma. His fault. All his fault. 1,000 voices screamed from the stands, each baying for blood. One was louder than the rest. Kill him. Alright. He could do that. Naruto stood slowly, a puppet severed from the strings of its master. Gingerly, every so slowly, he laid Salem out on the floor. A hand swept over her eyes, closing them. Then he moved. Ozma felt the bloodlust first. That was the first and only warning. It hit him all at once. A wave of pure hate. Such that it left the hairs on the back of his neck standing on end. Destruction. Despair. Death. He saw his demise played out a dozen times over in that moment, each more gruesome than the last. He dropped to his knees and retched, loosing what little he'd eaten, and still his shoulders. His body quivered once as his forehead kissed the full ground. When he made the mistake of looking up and immediately regretted it. For he saw. He saw it all. There over his eyes, his clothes drenched in the fallen lady's blood, Naruto shuffled forward. You. Fear. Ozma's instincts bleated at him. Fly, you fool. He tried to move, to no avail. One look paralyzed him. His feet cemented themselves to the ground, refusing to defy the alpha predator before him. It was an accident. His stumbling tongue tripped over the words as the blonde stalked closer. I didn't mean to harm her. The hand caught him by the collar and ripped him into the air. Clawed fingers swiped down in the same instant, tearing through armor and flesh like so much wheat from chaff. Ozma's left arm soared away, spiraling end over end, taking a goodly portion of his shoulder with it. And yet for all that, he couldn't even bring himself to scream. Terror stilled his tongue. Wrathful red slits dominated his vision. That was all Ozma saw, all he was aware of, before clenched knuckles barreled into his face. Once. Twice. Thrice. The fourth blow tore the fabric of his undershirt and launched him away to safety, thought not for long. Scarce had his back struck the ground than hell itself descended upon him. The booted foot stomped down on his chest cavity from on high, driving him into the unyielding soil. Ozma felt his ribcage shatter. Shards of bone pierced his lungs and punctured every conceivable organ within. The pain was beyond words. He was already dead, his mind just hadn't realized it yet. He was too fixated on the snarling creature looming over him. What have I done? This was no man. This was a monster. And now the world shall see him for what he is. The god of light hummed in his head. You have my thanks, knight. Your sacrifice will not be forgotten. Ozma bridled. And shot a thought inward. You did this. I did nothing. You accepted my boon. You lashed out with the power I gave you. Could a god sound smug? This one did. Granted, I did not think the girl would interfere, but I suppose her death serves a purpose. One less blight upon the world. The prophecy will never come to be now. You. Farewell, Ozma. Know that I will remember you. The beast that had once been a man screamed down at the knight, lost beyond words. Wait. Ozma raised a trembling hand and tried to croak out a plea. I mean you no harm. We have both been made fools by. Naruto pivoted on one heel and his body blazed gold. He flung forth twin golden hands, palms splayed. Those furious-lidded eyes shimmered with unshed tears. A rush of black light burst from his palms in an instant. Point blank. No hope of escape. He tried to rise and a black rod slammed into his chest, all but skewering him to the ground. The moment it touched his chest he felt his world begin to crumble away. And still the wild light built above him, swelling to a fever pitch. Realization dawned too late. I've blundered. Ozma flung up a hasty barrier with his remaining arm, to no avail. It shattered at once. As did the rest of him. His flesh burned away. Then muscle, followed by bone. Everything smoldered away. Even his soul wasn't spared. It was destruction on a physical and spiritual level. There could be no coming back from this, for even the afterlife was denied unto him. Complete and total annihilation. The knight had time for one final, horrified thought, a single solitary second before the void took him. I've unleashed a monster upon this wretched world. Then the darkness consumed him and he knew no more. What is a god? Wake up. Many might say this was no way to address the god of darkness in his home. That to speak in such a crass manner to him would surely invite divine retribution, curses, or worse. Indeed, any sane individual would have gone weak at the knees, knowing someone was willingly and deliberately courting the wrath of a being who could easily annihilate all life from remnant. Naruto didn't care. He was too angry to care. No, that wasn't it. Here, in this moment, he lacked the capacity to care. It was still there of course, but his emotions were simply too raw to do anything other than shout right now. One had but to look at him to see why. His world was red. Salem lay in his arms, her body cold as ice. His own stood stained with her black blood, leaving grisly patches of pale corruption upon his skin. Perhaps they were beginning to affect him. Salem was a child of darkness, after all. He'd all but bathed in her blood as he held her in her final moments. He did not care. I said. His voice boomed, wake up. Powerful though darkness might be, he was not infallible. Naruto knew that. Even gods could be fooled, harmed, taken by surprise. He'd seen it before. Because that was clearly surprise writ across the silhouette of his face as he rose from his pool of darkness. Though he lacked visible eyes or a mouth to express it, one could behold it in his brow. The very instant he saw Salem's broken body cradled in his arms, he burst into a towering rage. Blood of my blood. His voice was thunder, wrath incarnate. My child. Slain in my domain. In a flash of dark smoke he became a towering dragon, looming with wrath. Who has done this? Mighty jaws snapped at him. Tell me. Even caught in the throes of his rage, Naruto felt it. His anger was just and genuine. A righteous fury equal to his own. Whatever ruse light was playing at, it didn't involve darkness. It was the only thing that kept him from flying off the handle and striking him down where he stood. Who do you think? Light. Darkness spat the word like a curse. And so my beloved brother meddles again. I will rend the flesh from his bones. I'll deal with him. And he would. Afterward. Only one thing mattered right now. You're God, aren't you? The dragon reared back, offended. Of course I am. Do you dare say otherwise? Naruto held up Salem's limp form. Then bring her back. The god of darkness went terribly, horribly still. You ask much of me, my knight. I've never asked you for anything. Naruto set Salem down and flung a hand out, right arm shimmering with terrible power. Not once. I know you can do this. Please. The word tore from him in a sound more beast than man. You have to. This isn't fair. It isn't right. You know it. An awful moment of silence passed between them. Naruto held his breath. If he said no, if he refused him, those thoughts spiraled into a dark place. If the gods wouldn't save her, he would make them. Take them. Break them. Darkness hadn't done a thing to cross him, but if wouldn't do this one thing. We've bested gods before. Kurama's growl matched the anger seething within him. We can do it again. Still the silence persisted, stretching into eternity. Finally, Naruto's patience lifted its leash. Bring her back. Takra burst from him in a singular shout, rending heaven and earth alike. Grim near the pool recoiled from the flaming fury. Darkness recoiled before them and assumed his humanoid form once more. At length, he spoke. You truly wish for me to raise her? What, do you want me to kneel or something? Fine. Here. Naruto cast aside his pride and did just that. This is me kneeling. Please. I'm begging you. He pressed his forehead to the ground, all but prostrating himself before him. I can't live without her. My brother will take offense to this. His head snapped up to find the younger brother contemplating him anew. Though perhaps that is his intent. I have never tried to raise one of my children once they passed on. Nor he, his. It is something on an unspoken rule between us. To break it would violate our pact. Even kneeling wasn't enough. Then break it. A clenched fist rose. Or I break you. That horned head tilted. You would slay me to save her. Can a man kill a god? He didn't rise from where he knelt, but his words were pure iron. Can a god kill a man? No. People die when they are forgotten. Remember that. A long finger stabbed forth. If you're not willing to help your own followers, what kind of god are you? The god of darkness leaned back. Perhaps you are right. A most unexpected surprise, but a welcome one. Naruto felt his fury flicker. My brother has become a nuisance. Darkness reclined in his pool of black tear with a put-upon sigh. This is not the first time he sought to push me. Merely his most overt. His ways are old. Stagnant. That horned head looked up, regarding the starry sky high above. Perhaps a fresh perspective is needed. I would not object if someone were to take his place. Kurama bridled in his head. The weight settled upon Naruto's shoulders. You don't know what you're asking of me. I do. That eerie blank visage stared into his soul. More than you could possibly know. This is not something I say lightly. He climbed to his feet with an effort, wincing as his body burned. Why was it burning? He hadn't been hurt. Blue eyes awed his blood-stained arms, and a frown marred his features. No. It was nothing. He was fine. There would be time to dwell on that whatever was happening to him later. You know, underneath all that hot air, you're actually a pretty cool guy. Cool? The faceless visage of darkness furrowed. I do not understand the meaning of this world cool you speak of. What does it entail? Naruto nearly fell for the banter. Nearly smiled and slipped back into conversation with the lonely god. It was a very near thing indeed. His anger reeled him back in. They could chat all they liked later. Every second they wasted was another in which Salem wasn't here. No. I'll tell you after you raise Salem. Please. His voice broke. I don't think I can live without her. Darkness pulled himself forth from the pool, rising to his full towering height. You are certain of this path, then? I am. Many outside this kingdom will hate you for it. In their eyes you may well be scorned for this action. Cursed. Forsaken. Even so. Such determination. The god of darkness bowed his head and placed both hands before his chest. You have my blessing, then. Do as you will. I look forward to seeing the end of your tale. Naruto grit his teeth. Enough beating about the bush. Can you bring her back or not? Rejoice, my knight. A violet hand rose, bidding him to stand. Your faith in me will be rewarded. That same hand swept out, indicating the sea of black tar from which he had emerged. Bring her body hence, and I will raise her. Through light she fell, and through darkness she will rise again. As shall you, if you wish. What? Confusion reared its head, mingling with dread. Her blood has touched your body. You are marked by her. Now and forevermore. And? He took a sharp step back. I feel fine. You know this is not true. Darkness considered him for a long moment. You feel it, don't you? The anger. The rage. The primordial need to rip and tear, or perhaps. Naruto raised his arms and considered the ghostly white patches haphazardly spattered across his arms and chest. Rimmed now with pulsing red veins. Was it just his imagination, or were they spreading? He blinked and shook his head. Even his face was not unaffected. He caught a glimpse of himself in a nearby pool. There was a pale handprint there on his right cheek where Salem's bloody hand had touched him. He could see the veins pulsing in his face there over the whiskers, horrid and red. So, what? He babbled. Her blood's turning into something else. The word caught in his throat. Driving me mad. Not mad. Darkness shook his head. Merely breaking your chains. That didn't sound entirely like a good thing. His morals were what rooted him. Tethered him. Without them, what was he? Kurama. Don't look at me. His vulpine partner snarled. I'm trying to get rid of them. Persistent little bastards. You would become more powerful than you could possibly imagine, Darkness crooned. Think of it. With my power added to yours. Naruto set his jaw. I'm strong enough. Strong enough to protect her forever. The challenge cut him to the quick. Your might, make no mistake. I suspect you could kill me, perhaps even my brother if it came to a fight. But for all your strength you are still mortal. Eventually you will die. He didn't waver. I've got good genes. I'll be around for a bit. And what then? Darkness materialized at his side and laid a hand upon his shoulder. You are not eternal. Naruto chewed at his lip. If it's a life with her, then that's a life well lived. Until she outlives you. Bull. He shook off that heavy hand and whirled to face his ally. She's not immortal. She died. She did. Darkness conceded his point with a nod. But my children have been known to live for thousands of years if they are not killed. You've seen it for yourself. How slowly she ages. Search your feelings. You know it to be true. Perhaps that is why my brother hunts them so. A note of discord pushed itself into his voice, vibrating with menace. They are not like precious warriors. If left unchecked, they would live their lives and overrun this world. Another reason for him to cull them so your kind may be long-lived, but how long would that life last? What will happen when you're gone? She'll be fine. He knew the words for a lie even as he spoke them. Fool. Her life is centered around you. If you die she'll go mad. Her magic will surge as it has before. There was a hole in his logic, one that, for all his anger, he felt compelled to point. You could just bring me back. I cannot. You are not of this world and thus not bound by many of its rules. Your soul will likely go elsewhere when you pass from this world. Neither I nor my brother has any claim on it. Your body we may be able to affect, but your soul. No. He shook his head. Impossible. A muscle jumped in his jaw. Then I won't die. Oh? That horned head tilted anew. And how do you intend to accomplish such a feat? I've beaten the odds before. I'll do it again. I am trying to help you. His voice cracked like a whip. You have already been marked. You may well become like her in time. Why prolong the inevitable? Because it's my choice. He snapped back. I want to remain as I am. I won't give in to this. Think of it. Legions of Grimm under your command. All would be yours. In the end, he made his decision. I don't want the world. I just want her. That said, he turned toward the dark waters and swallowed once. I'll do whatever it takes. Even then, a thorn of hesitation pricked at his heart and held him back. He hesitated. Will she be the same as she was? The god of darkness offered him a rare, helpless shrug. I cannot know. The answer lies with her. His arm rose. Now let us begin. Slowly, gingerly, Naruto stooped to retrieve Salem's still form. Then he waded into darkness. Salem opened her eyes in the void. Ah. She realized with a pang of dread. I'm dead. Her brow furrowed in mild consternation. Then anger. Fury. Nope. Her spirit sat up with a scowl. Not having this. Not having any of it. She was just building up for an absolutely towering rant when something or someone yanked her back. It's working. Naruto felt a smile stretched across his face as he watched Salem's body begin to mend. Her image was blurry and indistinct in the water, but he could see the hole in her chest closing. Pale flesh mended before his eyes as he looked on. He kept his focus on her and nothing else. Even then his mind threatened to buckle beneath the strain. The fell tides tugged at him, promising him power, whatever he wished. He resisted, even as he knelt in their dark depths. Corruption crept into his skin and he grit his teeth against it. Pain didn't even begin to describe what he felt. Thankfully, pain was also an old friend to him by now. He'd endured worse. Hold tight to her. Darkness warned somewhere above him. She will not drown, but she must remain submerged until her wounds are healed. Bleary eyes fluttered open in the pool, not quite comprehending. He saw the panic in them. She tried to rise in a panic. To which he gently yet firmly forced her back down. Hey, Naruto grabbed her hand. It's alright. You're okay. Just don't move. Do you understand? You have to stay in the water for now. Everything's going to be alright. Her eyes drifted shut again, that brief moment of consciousness lost to her. Panic flared to life in his chest, and he suppressed it. What have you done? A peal of anger pierced the night. Naruto looked up, Salem's hand clenched tight in his. All his fury, all his rage, all his wrath, already at a fever pitch, boiled over. He whirled to face its owner, already knowing whom he would find there. He wasn't disappointed. The god of light descended from on high in all his golden splendor, shoulders tense with anger. What foolishness is this? He paused on the final step, glaring down at them. You would violate our agreement. I have done what I please, brother. The god of darkness remained unbowed as his brother moved to meet them. You may bask in the powers of creation, but you do not own them. The larger god bridled. This is not creation. Do not lecture me. Anger knotted the younger brother's voice. The air boiled between them. Neither spoke for what felt like an eternity. And then. Enough. A golden palm rose in Salem's direction. I will do what I must to maintain order. Darkness slapped his limb aside. You dare enter my domain and attempt such disrespect? After all you've done. Light rounded on darkness. I am abiding by the rules we agreed upon. Rules that I now see were ever weighed in your favor. The god of darkness stalked forward, the earth shaking beneath his feet with each step. You hoard your worshippers like a greedy child, and yet the moment someone asks a boon of me, ghastly wings sprouted from his back as his body began to writhe and twist, so do you arrive to lay your judgment upon me. Before his very eyes the god shifted and became a dragon once more, fangs bared. Beggin. Even when faced with an open maw rearing back to bite him, the god of light did not recoil in the face of such adversity. Instead another dragon was born in a great flash of light, a mighty curling serpent soaring through the sky overhead. Flames flickered between its teeth, yet it did not unleash them. I know we have our differences, he intoned solemnly, gazing down at him. But I have not come here with the aim to control you. Liar. Naruto set Salem down in the shallows and burst to his feet. You absolute hypocrite. You started this. I know you did. I could smell you on Ozma. Indeed. Darkness beat his wings once with a mighty guffaw. My knight came to me with honest intentions and no deception in his heart. That grisly maw parted in a dark rictus of a grin. Which is more than can be said for you. Naruto couldn't quite restrain a growl at that. Come down here, you overgrown lizard. I've got a bone to pick you. Silence. That flat gaze met his. Your pet was not my intended target. Count yourself lucky that you yet live. Salem whimpered in the shallows, still not quite awake. Something cracked in the back of Naruto's mind. Pet. Kurama tried to say something, but the words distant. Muted. Fuzzy. Pet. He'd called Salem a pet. That broken little girl. The helpless waif he'd taken in and loved like his own, and he dared to call her a pet. A sharp pain stabbed at the back of his skull. Control. Keep calm. Light wanted him angry. Wanted him reckless. It didn't bother him. It didn't bother him, it did not bother him. And you slew one of my newly chosen. The god barreled on, heedless of what he'd just woken. It will take me eons to reconstitute his soul, if I even care to. I would have recompense. Crack. Clenched knuckles plowed into Light's face, obliterating what passed for the dragon's jaw and flinging him to the ground. He struck the ruined soil and skidded across it, leaving a mighty tear in the earth. Yet when he arose, there was no sign of any such injury. Grave glowing eyes regarded him, as a giant might unto an ant. You dare strike me, mortal. There was an edge of mockery in his words. What do you hope to accomplish by doing this? It's too late now. Naruto lowered his arm and pressed a hand to his forehead, grimacing as his migraine intensified. I don't know what's right anymore. Bitter laughter tumbled past his lips. Gods are supposed to be good, aren't they? Yet you aren't. He hung his head. Your brother is, but not you. So the only choice for me now. He raised his gaze, one eye shimmering blue, the other a bitter black and red. is to face the consequences of my actions as a human being. He swept an arm forward, uncaring as the stained limb shimmered a ghastly white. Corruption crept across the length of his limb fueled by his emotions and the darkness of the pools, leaving pulsing red veins behind in its wake. His skin itched like nothing else, and were he able to see his face, he would have seen the last semblance of color drain from his whiskered visage, leaving his hair a shocking ashen gray. He felt awful. He was sure he looked worse. Like some kind of monster. None of that mattered now. And see this through to the bitter end. Naruto. Are we doing this? Now? Right here? Yeah. He stalked forward. It had always been building to this, he realized. From the moment he'd met Salem. I'm sick of gods. We are not simply your gods. The god of light righted himself with nary a sound, face mending as he looked on. We are your kings. Kneel and we shall forgive such defiance. You keep using that word. We. Red eyes flashed with baleful light. I don't think you understand what it means. He crossed his arms, golden black light shimmering around his shoulders. I only see you. You're alone. A frigid wind blew through the grimmlands as the god of light turned to face his sibling. Stand with me, brother. We shall eradicate this aberration together. The god of darkness rose to his full towering height and did nothing. I think not. The elder brother bridled. Think very carefully before you finish that sentence. His very voice shook the earth. Lest you upset the balance of this world. Balance? Naruto all but spat the word. Balance. This isn't balance at all. This is stagnation. You started this. Because it was necessary. You know not what you do. That child is destined to destroy everything. Who decided that? A prophecy? Some words spoken in the past. The future was what you made of it. There comes a time in every man's life when he must make a choice. He lifted his chin in naked defiance. I've made mine. And I'm prepared to live with it. Mighty jaws snapped at him, easily dodged amidst the blasted plains. She'll destroy us all. Maybe. Naruto shrugged. Maybe not. That's a risk I'm willing to take. And he wasn't he? Once the realization might have shocked him. What happened when you killed a god? Did the world break? Did time cease to be? Would every vestige of light vanish from this world with the death of light himself? There was only one way to find out. He would go to war. For one girl. Not one girl. The girl. I will not be betrayed. The god of light frowned and cast a baleful look toward darkness. When this is over, when I slay this whelp, I will have you answer for. The golden hand closed around the dragon's tail and yanked, whipping him into the air. Up he went. Down he came. His face kissed the ground in a way no self-respecting deity desired. Before he could even think to mount himself a counterattack he found himself whipped back again. 1. Twice. Thrice. Back. Fourth. Back again. Finally, his tormentor slammed him down, trapping his back in the blasted soil. Puny god. Light barely even felt the weight settle on his chest. But he certainly noticed the golden hand that followed. Clawed fingers around the face of a deity. You don't seem to understand. I'm not playing games. So keep your schemes to yourself. Black light built between his fingertips as a tailed beast bomb took shape. And just die. Enough. The god of light shimmered back into his human form in an instant. The gilded hand snapped up and the world howled into light, sending Naruto sprawling. You and your foolishness. He snarled after him. Why do you do it? Why get up? Why keep fighting? He made it to a knee before light blasted him again. Do you believe you're fighting for something? Wild light flickered in his grasp, ready to strike him down. For more than your survival. Can you tell me what it is? Do you even know? Is it freedom? Or truth? Perhaps peace? Could it be for love? Another bolted rip through the gloom, narrowly dodged. A smoke bomb sailed out, kicking up noxious fumes to blind him. Illusions, boy. Vagaries of perception. The dragon world, seeking him in the dark fog he'd created. Temporary constructs of a mortal human intellect trying desperately to justify an existence that is without meaning or purpose. He saw a flicker of movement and howled at it, obliterating a shadow with his voice alone. And all of them as artificial as your resolve itself. Another shadow, another swipe, with nothing left behind. You must be able to see it. You must know it by now. You can't win. It's pointless to keep fighting. Why, then? Why? Why do you persist? A giant hand closed around the back of his head. Someone has to. The god of light never saw the tailed beast bomb, but certainly felt it as Kurama's body slammed him into the ground. Black and white light blazed over his back, shattering his defenses like so much glass. Have you ever heard a god scream? There's no sound quite like it. Light lashed out and sent him slamming away, yet the deed was done. May you be cursed. He spat. So long as remnant turns, may you never know peace. Naruto staggered upright. Didn't ask, don't need it, go fuck yourself. If you kill me, you will steal all light from this world. And? The shinobi surged forward with a snarl. Kurama's maw yawned wide. The god of light whirled to meet them, a palm flashing with holy splendor. The fox bit it clean off at the elbow. A single desperate blow battered him back again. Yet even that action cost him dearly. His might spent, the broken god collapsed, shimmering and flickering where he lay. A pleading hand stretched forth as he crawled away. "Brother," he cried. "Help me." Here at last, his pleas appeared to move darkness. He vanished and materialized at his side. "No." Naruto surged upright. "He's mine." Darkness drew light into his arms and helped him stand. For a moment, the two brothers looked upon one another. "You have my thanks, brother." Light rasped out a breath. "Come, let us put an end to this." Yes, Darkness agreed. An end, indeed. A sword of sheer shadow burst from Light's gut, skewering him on its wicked edge. The elder brother gasped. Had he eyes, they would have been most wide indeed. A wordless cry fled from his lips as his brother thrust the barbed blade deeper, all but impaling him upon the dread weapon he'd created. But why? Darkness drew him close and hissed 4 little words in his sibling's ear. "Long live the king." The palm planted itself upon Light's chest and pushed, ripping the wounded god from the sword to fling him back into the fray. Back into oblivion. Back toward the giant fox that was even now barreling towards him with fell intent. Caught in the air, Light flailed for salvation, too wounded to do anything but howl in impotent rage. He was still screaming when 9 tails of pure chakra coiled about his broken body. Still screaming, as Kurama's maw yawned wide. Powerful jaws closed around Light's head and clamped down with almighty force. Motes of light and blood sprayed through the air. A miserable pile of secrets. Can a god truly die? Is it possible to kill such a being? To end a creature that does not understand the concept of death? And if so, what happens after said death? Do they form anew? Simply dissipate altogether? Perhaps they reincarnate in another world, another form? Who can say? Such knowledge is often unknown, even to the gods themselves. In his final fleeting moment of existence, the god of light was left to ponder this. He knew not what end awaited him, only that it was here. He tried to fight in his last throes. Tired to speak. To say something. Anything. All he managed was a singular scream. Jaws of fire-filled fury closed down around his head. They ripped and they tore. Then the light knew no more. How does a god taste? Some might say divine. Heavenly, even. Naruto disagreed wholeheartedly. Because no, he knew firsthand. It was a strange taste. Like biting into sunshine while simultaneously drinking sour milk. He swallowed on reflex and immediately regretted it, turning away to retch. Something rushed down his throat, bringing a wretched burning sensation with it. Blech. He gagged as motes of light and blood sprayed through the air. He tastes horrible. Perhaps, Kurama mused, watching the fallen deity crumble away. But he had a certain crunchiness to him there at the end. It might have been funny under any other circumstance. Were it not for the enormity of what they'd just done. Even now he half expected that giant headless corpse to spring back to life at moment. To stand, grow a new head and fight him anew. Instead those strange motes of dust swirled through the air, coalescing around him. He alighted on all fours and sprang to his feet. A clawed hand swiped at them to no avail, they yet lingered, suffusing his skin, even as his throat continued to burn. He'd never killed a god before. Sealed, yes, but to slay a divine being, to tear off his head and stand tall despite it all, no. He'd not done that. There were consequences to killing a god. Just as there were consequences for Light starting this. He had finished what this so-called god began, but despite all, his demise didn't give him the satisfaction he sought. Even with Light's death, Naruto found he wasn't pleased. He wanted to bring the bastard back and kill him again. Rinse and repeat. A single death was too good for him. After all he'd put them through. To simply roll over like this. He deserved to die over and over. And over. Again. His fingers twitched restlessly at his sides, longing to rend into that still dissolving corpse, to rip and tear as he never had before. Easy, there. Breathe. Naruto sucked in a shuddering breath through his teeth. He tried. He really did. Every breath seemed a struggle. Salem's blood still boiled in his veins, a wrath yet unspent. His time in the pool, coupled with her blood, had changed him. He was both himself and not himself. Even now his mind remained ravaged by what he'd endured. Not corrupted. Infected. Altered. Mingled with her essence and changed. He could feel the god of darkness watching him, no doubt wishing to speak with him, but his presence seemed muted. Distant, somehow. Because he'd just caught sight of his ghastly reflection in a nearby pool of shadow. Ah, hell. He muttered. How am I gonna explain this to her? The clawed hand touched one side of his face. His once vivid blue eyes burned in his skull like twin coals, a furious lidded red bearing Kurama's telltale slits. Dark marks flowed up the edges of his now pallid visage. The trio of whisker marks that had once tripled either side of his cheeks were still visible, but they were deeper and darker now. Vivid black lights trailing out to flow up from his eyes and neck. Even his hair lay altered. It seemed to shimmer in the low light, glowing a soft golden gold in the gloom. All in all, he looked like a male version of Salem. It did precious little to explain the swirling red cloak that stemmed from his shoulders, nor the sweeping tails of energy that trailed from it. He felt as though he could drop it at any time and be fine, but there was a part of him that didn't want to, that longed to hold on to this incredible new power, to use it to rip and tear, and it frightened him. The forlorn breeze rippled through the grimmlands, tearing at his strange new cloak. What is this? Naruto glared down at his hands, not quite comprehending. If I didn't know better, I'd say this was Baryon mode. His brow furrowed. Bar what now? Something you never want to use. It'll kill us both. Still, for all your anger, this form feels oddly stable. Thanks ever so much. The words tore out of him in a growl. Since when were you the calm one? If it time. I'm sure I'll have a panic attack of my own any second now. Naruto grit his teeth and exhaled, willing the fraying threads of his anger to unspool. It proved an effort in of itself. He could feel the red veins thrumming furious at the edges of his vision, all but branching down to pulse wildly in his flesh. He felt stronger for it. More powerful than he'd ever been. On a whim he threw a quick punch, only to blanch at the shockwave he created. The ground cratered beneath him, and he hadn't even touched it in the least. It terrified him. Intoxicated him. And so it is done. For all his participation in his sibling's demise, the god of darkness sounded strangely melancholy. My brother is dead. I never thought I would see the day. He sounded so miserable. So broken, so alone now, that it broke Naruto from his reverie. Pivoting on one heel, he dared to look away from the slowly dissolving corpse. It made no effort to rise. If anything, its collapse was a slow thing indeed, the work of minutes rather than seconds. But still, he had to know. Is he gone for good? The last thing he wanted was a vengeful deity stalking him. Of that, I know not. Darkness looked just as lost as he. Not reassuring. Neither of us ever expected an end. His featureless visage turned away, confiding in the dark starry above. I suppose we will know sooner rather than later. He was ever the spiteful sort. You don't sound too pleased with yourself. I am a kinslayer now. Those violet shoulders hunched with a sigh. Whatever our differences, in the end, we proved to be no better than wild beasts. A low, shuddering sigh escaped him, then he rallied. But enough of sadness and sorrow. I am not the last of my kind. Nor am I your enemy. I would have peace with you. Wait, you sound startled. Realization dawned and Naruto found himself taking a step back. Are you afraid of me? I just watched you slay my brother, helped even, something I never thought possible. Least of all for a mortal. A dark brow quirked. But you aren't mortal anymore, are you? What's that supposed to mean? That you'll soon have a choice to make. Darkness said at last. When the time comes, I pray that you choose no, it's nothing. He cut himself off, pinched his brow and made a noise of discontent. Forgive me for being a bit shaken. Alright, Naruto reached up and patted the only place he could reach on the towering god's form, namely his leg. For what it's worth, I appreciate the assist. The scoff. Assist, he says. You would have slain him without me. Maybe, maybe not. It was becoming more and more difficult to hold on to his anger. Perhaps that was for the best. You were still a big help. HRMMPH. Darkness grunted and padded past him. Come. Your mate stirs. Naruto felt his newly pale face flood with color of a different sort. I keep saying. She ain't my. Naruto. Salem jolted awake beneath the water. Her first thought was not for herself, but for him. The second was of her death. She couldn't forget it. That cold touch of the abyss as it dragged hours down into darkness. The fading of her vision, the horrible sadness as she realized that yes, this was the end and there was naught she could do about it only to undone at the last. At least she assumed it was undone. If not, then what witchery was this? If there was life after death, she'd not been gone long enough to truly experience it, not that it mattered now. Everything was heat and fire and rage, blood boiling in her veins like so much superheated plasma. She inhaled on reflex and dark brackish water flooded her airway. Hack. Hack. Her lungs liked that not at all and her body even less. She kicked her way upright and broke the surface. Pale hands flailed for her wound, expecting to find a grievous tear in her chest, but no. She found only the swell of her breasts, utterly untouched. Among other things. Salem looked down. Blinked. Once. Twice. Thrice now. Alright, she frowned a little, where the devil are my clothes? Had they dissolved in the water of the grim pool, she cast an embarrassed glance about and was rewarded for her curiosity. Sure enough, tattered shreds of colorful fabric floated by on the dark waters. Heat rose to her cheeks and she covered her bosom with a pale arm. She stood slowly, not quite trusting her quivering legs to hold her. Alright. She was fine. This was fine. So long as no one saw her. Salem. The poor gremlin made a keening noise between her teeth and whirled in the dark waters. She saw Naruto approaching at speed and try as she might, she couldn't quite fight down the flinch that followed. Because you see, she understood. One look at his newfound transformation struck her. She understood what he had done. He looked like her. He'd gone and changed himself to save her. For that, he might well never be the same. Heat pricked at her eyes, not from anger, but sorrow. He reached her side and looked away, not from embarrassment, but shame. That bad, huh? The big guy said you might not remember. No. None of that. Salem surged up and kissed him. Pale arms wrapped round his neck, clung on for dear life, then pulled. Boy. His words peaked into a yelp that bordered on a laugh. Wait a second. Clothes, damn it. Where are you? Naruto didn't have time to protest further as she dragged him into the shallows with her. Say that again, she touched a hand to his cheek, and I'll be very cross with you. Legacy. Naruto woke to tangled feet and satin sheets. Anybody get the number of that dragon? Feels like I got run over by one. Bleary eyes blinked against the morning sunlight. Struggling to make sense of where he was, much less how he'd wound up here. Memories trickled back through the haze of a hangover. Right. He remembered celebrating Salem's return. 3 days and 3 nights of continuous revelry. Say what you would about the god of darkness and his choice of decor, but the bastard threw wild parties. That's not the only thing that's been thrown. Through the bleary haze of sleep he vaguely felt the warmth of a woman's body nestled against his. A quick glance confirmed pale hair and paler skin tucked into him. Still clothed, thank the sage. That wasn't a leap he was ready to make quite yet. This was still too surreal for him. Since her unlikely revival, Salem was fixed on one thing, and one thing alone. It wasn't what one might think. Cuddling. He tried to move, only to find her arms wrapped firmly around his waist. Further attempts to extricate himself drew a weak whine from her. No, don't leave me. She'd not left his side since her resurrection. Not that he could blame her. Death wasn't for the faint of heart, and while her memories were still intact, it quickly became quite clear that she hadn't emerged unscathed from the ordeal. He didn't want to call it clingy, but she certainly wasn't as timid now. Heaving a sigh, he plopped back down among the pillows and resigned himself to his fate. He'd been forced to admit that their relationship was evolving. He'd raised Salem as his daughter to be sure, but with her relentless advances, it was more and more difficult to see her as such. Like it or not, she'd grown up. Thing had changed. So had he. On a whim, the wayward warrior raised his right arm. Even days after his transformation, he still expected to see healthy tan flesh. Instead he gazed upon a red riot of veins scrawling across his palm limb. He could see them now, pulsing in unison with his heart. A tiny shudder shook him, though that didn't lower his limb. He knew the rest of him had been likewise changed, and it frightened him. More than he cared to admit. It's fine. He muttered, curling his fingers into a fist. Everything is fine. It was not. His time in the pool had changed him, and that change was more than skin deep. Devouring the god of light only compounded it. There was a hunger inside him these days, a gnawing urge that hadn't existed before, an almost overpowering desire to do something. He couldn't discern what it was, only its existence. Power coursed through him, more than he knew what to do with. Like he could unmake the world itself, bend time to his whims, do the impossible. How much power was too much power? He would deal with it just as he dealt with everything else. But the knowledge humbled him all the same. His humanity was a small price to pay for Salem's life. He'd happily give up his soul if it meant she could live in peace. Kurama offered a low hum. Oh ho. It was then that Naruto knew he'd truly lost. If she had wormed her way into his heart before, then now she'd truly put down roots. He couldn't live without her. It frightened him. I am not me. He forced his fingers to unclench and let his arm fall back to his side. But I have to be. I'll live with this if I have to. Salem shifted against him. Just an inch. Just a hair. It was enough. Naruto's gaze narrowed. Boy. An elbow prodded her. I know you're awake. There's no point in pretending. The blood-red eye creaked open, framed by darkness. Do you regret it? He frowned, puzzled. Regret what? Becoming this. She lifted her head and set her chin on his chest, the better to look him in the eye. You made yourself a monster for my sake. Her gaze flitted away. If not for me you wouldn't be. His hand flitted out to seize hers and reeled her back in. Nope. Now it was Salem's turn to blink. I beg your pardon. I said nope. As in negative. Don't regret a thing. And that was the truth. He didn't regret the action that had led them to this month. These last few years had been the happiest he'd had in ages. Sure there were up and downs, but that was life. Nothing was perfect. You had to fight for what you wanted in this world. What do we do now, then? She rolled over onto his chest and sprawled there. Did we win? It feels like we've won. Naruto's mouth went dry for all the wrong reasons. He'd hit his cheeks as her breasts pushed down within her gown. Worse, it wasn't even intentional on her part. Salem hadn't a clue. Purity was a powerful thing, even for someone who claimed to be anything but. She stroked his arm. Eternity is painful, isn't it? Not if I spend it with you. The god of light is gone, surely. She pressed, heat rising in her pale cheeks. You slew him. Hey now, he protested, we don't know that for sure. Even if he isn't, you ripped his power from him. A pale finger jabbed his chest. You're a god now. Aren't you? The god of darkness said so. The word stung, even if he didn't care to admit it. Don't much feel like a god. Is that so? Her head butted against his, bringing the faint scent of lavender with it. No fire and brimstone. He caught the ghost of a smile playing on her lips. No burning desire to preach to us mortals. His lips quirked in a faint smile. You're hardly mortal. You came back from the dead. Smooth talker. She made a little girlish sound and rolled over again, thanked the sage. To tuck herself into his side. We can do whatever we want now. She shivered a little against him. We're finally free. The god of darkness is our ally. Who can stop us? Naruto worried his lip, recalling the forlorn god and his words. He's afraid of me. Good. Good. His brow shot into his hairline. How is that a good thing? Maybe he should be afraid. She clicked her tongue, sounding every bit like the child she still was at heart. He and his brother started all this nonsense, like two children squabbling over their toys. Maybe they needed someone like you, to break them up. The weight of her words hit her a moment later, and she deflated. I'm sorry. I don't know what came over me. I suppose I'm just tired. She snuggled into his side. For a moment, there was silence. But only for a moment. I want to deal with my father. Him? Naruto perked up. The old man in the tower. He's been sending letters again. And men. Has he? Salem looked up at him, idly twining one leg within his. I was aware of the latter, we killed those, but the former. He gained nothing by lying. Ignored the first few missives, started burning the rest. Something along the lines of, he coughed and feigned a deep voice. Return my daughter to me at once, or I shall see you suffer, or return what is mine, lest ye be cursed. That sort of thing. They both snickered. I suppose he could try to curse us, not that it would work. A ruby red eye regarded him. We're already cursed. Naruto rolled his own. Oh yes, woe be unto us. Whatever will we do? Ha! Salem smacked his chest. Such a burden. She tutted. He still needs to be dealt with before he become a threat. She traced a finger on his ribs in slow circles. Be it by words or violence. No doubt he thinks he can win me back now that I'm a dark priestess. Her tone told him just what she thought of that. He felt her magic shift restlessly in the air, heralding a surge. You really do feel strongly about this, don't you, ow? His laughter peaked as the tracing became a pinch. Alright. Calm down. The growl pierced the air. He made me feel like nothing before I met you. He dies. I get that you just might not like the results. Then I will live with them. She muttered something and buried her head in his hair. Don't move. You're warm. Silence stretched between them anew before she managed to marshal her courage. Have you ever given thought to the future? His heart lurched. Sometimes. What did you have in mind? The family. Had she a tail, it would be wagging. 4 girls would be nice. Naruto's mind ground to a screeching halt. Isn't a little too soon to talk about that? Then just hold me for now. Salem drew him down into her arms. At such close proximity he could feel her trembling. Are you sure you want this? You don't have to. Yes, she spoke quickly, voice breaking a little. This is what I want. More than anything. He pulled her into his embrace. Naruto wasn't much used or suited to leading an army. The silver tongue he might well have, but god or no, he wasn't a general. He wasn't a master tactician. And he certainly wasn't a leader of men. Perhaps, had he stayed in his world, he might well have become some of these things in time. When he'd devoured light, he had been gifted a glimpse of such a possible future. Hokage, leader of the Leaf, loving husband and father of 2. It would have been a good life, for the most part. The vision had been faint, indistinct, blurry, but it felt like it would have been a good life. Until Kurama died. That part came through crystal clear. Still can't believe that so-called god. Bastard got one last jab in at us. What was so bad that we had to use Baryon mode? Naruto shivered a little. He didn't know, and frankly, he didn't want to. Thankfully that future was long gone. Whatever came to pass in his world would do so without him. Besides, he'd never put much stock in prophecy. Never had. Never would in a million years. He believed in his friends. They could handle this. You see, Naruto understood now. Time and parenthood had granted him a unique understanding. In the beginning he'd longed to return to his world. Not for his sake, but Salem's. He'd hoped for it, prayed for it, wished for it even. Back then, he longed to bring her to his world, to show her the wonders of his village and its people, in the hopes that she would be accepted there, just as he had been. But in the end, that had proven a pipe dream. There was no way back. None he knew of, at any rate. Salem needed him here, and Naruto knew could no sooner return to his world without her than he could cast off what he'd become. He had a duty here now. Great power. And with great power came great responsibility. He held to those words these days, even in his darker moments. Salem was his responsibility. Whatever happened to her, whoever she became, he would not forsake her. The pool of darkness might have done much to him, but he was still himself. And he never went back on his word. Naruto. The pale hand tugged at his sleeve, as a little girl had done once, so long ago. For a moment, just a moment, he saw that girl again. His little devil. The outcast he'd taken under his wing, now a powerful sorceress in her own right. It filled his heart with pride. Even if she wasn't a child anymore, even if things didn't work out between them, he'd always look after her. And if that meant thrashing anyone who wanted to harm her, well, he'd fought gods and monsters. He wasn't afraid of some cowardly king, let alone this so-called father of Salem. Now that he thought about it, he had a few choice words for the bastard. His mount shifted restlessly beneath him, reminding him of another sacrifice he'd made. Why did he have to ride a blasted horse? Blasted black stallion. Salem insisted it would make him look regal before the troops, but it made him feel foolish all the same. He was dismounting this accursed beast first chance he got. But for now. Naruto raised his staff. Forward. An army roared behind him. And they went to war. What if Godlike Naruto, father of Cinder, rwby? And thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel and leave a like if you guys need the next part, comment down, and thanks for watching the video and see you guys in the next video.